Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Don't buy wigs that come off at the wrong time. Maury's wigs don't come off, even underwater. And remember, Maury's wigs are tested against hurricane winds. Don't forget about money. You can afford a Maury wig, priced to fit every budget. So call me now. And come in for a personalized fitting.
Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul glow, baby.
When you have a sore throat, a cough, or a stuffy nose, come to the halls of medicine. To feel better fast, use Halls. For fast relief of acid indigestion, use 1,000 milligram strong, extra strength Rolaids, the only antacid in an assortment of mint flavors. Yipe Stripes, fruit stripe gum, 4 fruity juicy flavors. Share, dare, chew it, blow it. It's Yipe Stripes, fruit stripes regular and bubble gum.
You're listening to Nothing Worthwhile with Andrew Gruthius and Evan Moody. Episode 2, the Mania episode. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the world-famous Nothing Worthwhile podcast.
Absolutely nothing worthwhile.
Let me say hello to my good friend Andrew Gruthius. Gru,
How you doing?
how the hell are you?
Well, aside from the hepatitis C vaccine that I had to take this morning before sitting in this hotel room, doing great. Very excited. It's a very exciting weekend. This is becoming a tradition, which is, at our age, we need those. So very excited. Very happy to be here.
Any feedback from the first episode?
The guy who listened to it said it was fantastic.
All of 70 views?
No. Yeah, people liked it. They, look, our friends listen to us who don't see us very often, so they enjoy brings them back to days gone by, and they're jealous that they can't be there in the room.
Good point.
So yeah,
I think they'll enjoy.
It was less content related than just like you guys having you're the same people.
I think they'll enjoy this episode even more. So the last time we chatted was November 2017 in chilly New York. Fast forward, we're now in the more moist, temperate climate of New Orleans. A lot has happened since we left. A lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff in the world, but we'll save that for another time and another place. Because today we're going to stick to all matters of pro wrestling and the WWE, as in 48 hours we will fast approach WrestleMania. So now, Gru, this is our second year in a row that we're going to Mania. We're going to go to the host city to see it live. Are we going to make this a yearly tradition?
Well, we got the word that next year is in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. We're always looking for excuses to go up to New York together, so I would say put it in the books right now. I would book a flight right now.
Okay.
Like there's literally no reason not to go. I always look for an excuse to go to New York. It's like you're killing two birds with one stone with that. So I'm in.
So today we're going to.
Unless Roman Reigns is in the main event.
Well, we'll save that thought. Save that thought. We're going to talk about WWE, but I want to go back to, as a kid, as a child, what are your first memories of pro wrestling, and what attracted you to the hairless, shaved down, baby oiled world of sports entertainment?
Just that. It's hot.
Well, that's very that's a very homoerotic answer. But what?
Time's up. Me too. Wait, what? No.
What were those first memories where you said, "Oh, this is something I like"?
Very, very vivid, very distinct. A friend of mine invited me for his birthday to a wrestling card, a WWF card at Nassau Coliseum, which was, I don't remember any of the undercard matches, but the main event was Hulk Hogan versus Jesse the Body Ventura, and then they had a run-in from Macho Man Randy Savage. I know some of the undercard matches, like the Junkyard Dog was on it. The guy who eventually became Haku, I think at that point he was the Tonga Kid or whatever. But I remember, first of all, realizing that Hulk Hogan and Thunderlips was the same person. I didn't realize that night when we were going that I was seeing, because I was always a huge Rocky fan. So, and all of a sudden there's Thunderlips, but everyone's cheering him. And, I got the first glimpse of the electricity and the excitement that these guys generated. And I remember at the time they announced, remember at the house shows, they would always announce when they were coming back and what the main event would be.
And how much anticipation and joy did you get as a kid when you heard the next month card and you were begging your parents to come take you?
Well, that's the thing, because my dad actually dropped me off at the airport this morning, and he as he was dropping off, he's like, "Yeah, have fun at Wrestlemania." He's like, "I'm so proud," and then he just banged his head against.
My dad said the same thing.
"Dad, it's your fault," and he said, "What do you mean?" And what happened was, at that first event at Nassau Coliseum, right before the main event, they announced that next month, I remember it was December 5th, 1985, it was going to be Hulk Hogan teaming with then Intercontinental Champion Tito Santana against Jesse the Body Ventura and Randy Macho Man Savage. And that day I remember going home and saying, "Dad, that's my Hanukkah present. I want to go." And he got it, and he took me, and those two things. I had seen the original WrestleMania, but I didn't know, like the live event, being there in person. I still have pictures of it, just the joy of it and the excitement of it.
So I think I'm a little older than you. So when I was,
and it was real to me.
Well, when I was doing my research, I thought about everything. Went back to Channel 9, which was a local television, television station in New York.
Secaucus, New Jersey.
I was perusing through the channels. I could still remember. It might have even been a black and white TV, and it was the WWWF, and Vince McMahon was hosting, and Blackjack Mulligan put a claw on a guy's head, and they put a big red X over the screen, and he bled, and I was hooked from there. And I remember Ken Patera with this wild bleach blonde hair with all these muscles, and I was absolutely hooked. So you could see that this has gone back, 85, you're talking about, 20, 25 plus years. So
more than that.
Yeah.
30.
Well, you're a teacher. I'm not much of a math guy.
30-something years. But, what you're describing is that was our weekend television. That was our, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you a question now, because I remember what I felt at the time. Did you ever think that it was quote-unquote real?
So as a kid, I think in the back of my mind, I always knew it was staged. But really until they broke that wall down in maybe the early 90s when they, Vince, and we could talk about that another time, but when they admitted it was, and they called it sports entertainment, I wasn't shocked. But I think I always went into it actively suspending disbelief. But if I'm being honest, I kind of knew in the back of my mind, this can't be real. But I think I treated it as such until finally the cat was let out of the bag, so to speak.
Yeah. To me, it was... I always knew it wasn't... I always knew it was predetermined. I can't remember a time where I really thought that it was that they didn't know who was going to win something beforehand. The entertainment was in just that, the entertainment value of it, and I cheer for wrestlers and I cheer for the event the same way I used to cheer when you went to see a Rocky movie in the theater with 100 other people. cheering for Rocky to win. You know, even though you knew he was always going to win at the end, you treated it as if he was still had a mountain to climb, and I looked at it the same way. There was never a point where I didn't know that these were planned things. There are certain things that happened which I won't say traumatized me, but upset me.
Oh my God!
Wait a minute.
Traumatized you?
No. I remember being legitimately upset when Rowdy Roddy Piper and Adrian Adonis got into it, and they smashed his leg in a chair. Like, that looked like it.
Legitimately upset, like you went to your room and pitched a fit?
No.
I mean, come on.
I was angry, like a fan of a TV show would be angry if someone does something to their favorite character. It's the same
did you curse out your parents at dinner that night because Roddy Piper got his leg hurt by a very bad gay stereotype of Adrian Adonis?
No, because my mom's meatloaf was more important than Roddy Piper's.
It's always more important.
But that's the way I looked at it then. That's the way I look at it now. I look at it the same way as I look at, maybe from a more critical perspective, because I look at things and I say, you know what, I that's good, but I might have done it differently. The same way I would watch a movie and say, that was good, but it would have been funnier if this happened, or it would have been more exciting.
And that's what we're doing today. And that's that's always
exactly. And that's part of the fun of it. That's
of course the wonderful part of wrestling. I say to people, WrestleMania sometimes is the actual, maybe least important part of the weekend. It's the surrounding fan activities. It's almost like I don't know what the word is, but you're almost always a little bit disappointed. It's not quite lives up.
Long.
Right, and we'll get to that, but wrestling today with the internet and with the behind that stuff is almost to me more intoxicating than the actual in-ring product. The rumor mill, who's going where, who's fighting with the WWE, who are they bringing in, who's the surprise guest. That anticipation to me is what still draws me in. I always say, as an educator, June's my favorite month. Why? Summer vacation's not here yet. There's so much anticipation for summer vacation, and summer vacation sometimes never meets our expectation. Yeah. So so right now we're very much locked in, and we can't wait for the show. And then of course we'll be critical and we'll break it down afterwards.
But I will say this for this particular show, and I know we're going to get into it, but there is more mystique surrounding this one than the last couple of years. Like,
okay, so hold on, hold that thought. So now we're in New Orleans, WrestleMania 34. 34. Okay, so real quick, initial thoughts on the host,
which is the caliber of bullet I see in the whole.
Well, stay with me now. Stay with me. Initial thoughts on the host city of New Orleans. Any thoughts? I know you've only been here for a couple hours.
I've never been here before. I haven't seen anything yet. It's hard to say. I haven't seen the French Quarter. I haven't seen anything yet. Oh. I'm sure the Superdome will blow my mind. I'm sure. Right now, it reminds me of like Queens. Right now,
it's great.
Right now, some really nice areas, and then you turn a corner and you're rolling them up.
Okay, so let's reflect on the WrestleMania experience. Last year we were together for WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. Thoughts on the city of Orlando and the job it did hosting WrestleMania last year?
Well, let's put it this way. Already, New Orleans. Do you say New Orleans or New Orleans? I really don't know, because some people will yell at you if you get it wrong.
I've never given that a moment's thought. Yeah, so you could say it either way.
I'm going to say New Orleans. Literally, the flight this morning was fun. There were a bunch of fans on the plane, and they were people in shirts and everything. So already it was off to a great start. When you get to the airport, there, I don't know if you saw, but they had
lot of signs.
Yeah,
yes.
They had the big pillars there that were covered with WrestleMania superstars and stuff. A woman, like one of the airline people, at the airport was giving out. She gave me beads, and she's like, "Are you here for WrestleMania?" Actually, it was more like, "You here for WrestleMania, darling?" And she gave me beads.
That's a very good Cajun impression.
She gave me beads and like a WrestleMania guide.
I want to film you doing a Cajun impression, and I want to submit that to the Swamp people on A&E. You could shoot Crocs, and
So that's something that I didn't see in Orlando.
So you do have some thoughts already on New Orleans.
Yeah, well, as I picked you up from the airport, and we're seeing signs. I mean, they are embracing this whole thing now. Granted, they've done it before.
Yes.
Okay, for 30, I think.
But didn't Orlando as well? Yes.
I don't know.
Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. That was Orlando.
Yeah. But I don't remember. But remember, we were staying on International Drive, which is a tourist, tourist trap,
very touristy
for people, for everything, for
yes,
Universal, for everything. So it's not like right now New Orleans is all about WrestleMania. It's like it reminds me of Tampa Bay during Super Bowl week, So they are embracing this thing, and they are making, at least this weekend, all about that. Everybody knows about it. Even the rental car agent was like, "You better take the insurance on this car because it's going to get crazy around here with WrestleMania and everything."
So let's. I
was like, good sales pitch. All right, I'll take the insurance.
Stay with me now.
What's your phone number?
Let's flash back to Orlando. I want to get your thoughts on some of the WrestleMania card last year. So we start off with the Andre the Giant Battle Royal in the pre-show, and early on, surprise, Big Show and Braun Strowman get eliminated, which kind of hushed the crowd. We end up finally with Jinder Mahal, Mojo Rawley, and then a Rob Gronkowski from the New England Patriots finish. Gronk distracts Jinder Mahal, which gives Mojo the win in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. This is probably your first initial push of Jinder Mahal, who has a great look, yet by most accounts probably got a push this year a little too soon. So I want to get your thoughts on Jinder Mahal and his somewhat surprising 2017-18 singles push. What were your thoughts when you watched him on SmackDown this year?
I didn't.
Okay. Well, we're just kicking off this podcast in a.
No, I didn't. Because he's, like you said, it's like when Cesaro won the Battle Royal a few years ago. That had me shrugging my shoulders, like, okay, now what? And I didn't see anything in Jinder Mahal that was going to excite me or get me, there's too much. It just, when I first saw, I didn't get the reaction in myself that I saw when I first saw Bobby Roode for the first time. Okay? His whole presentation screams main event to me. Okay, now I understand. I know you have opinions about how he's connected or lack thereof. But
let me give you
that aside.
Well, let me give it to you.
Right, but wait. I didn't have that kind of reaction for Jinder Mahal nor Finn Balor. All right, and I know they're pushing him big too. I just look at these guys and I'm underwhelmed. And I was underwhelmed then.
So Jinder Mahal, body, not much emotional connection to the crowd.
You could have the greatest body in the world, but if it's but if there's no story there, I don't see the story. I don't see the stakes.
Yeah,
in that.
I like that they paired him with the Singh brothers. I thought that gave a little extra. But yes, I was very, very underwhelmed. Now, you mentioned Bobby Roode. I would say I, too, was very excited when he came up. I watched him in NXT. I watched him in TNA. However, I do feel like he has a great opening package, and then it's just losing steam from that moment on. And I'm going to talk about him in a little bit, so hold the thought there.
But before you move on, I will say that I have a theory about why these 2 or 3 people that we've just discussed have not skyrocketed.
Go ahead.
The reason is I truly believe that it's because of the brand split. These guys need to be able to be in the same ring with anybody at any time. Okay? I look on SmackDown. All right, so there's Jinder Mahal. He's going to get into it with Kevin Owens again, or he's going to do it. Like how far can you go with the two limited rosters? But if Jinder Mahal all of a sudden showed up in a Brock Lesnar situation, that's hot.
Okay, but they were supposed to.
It's never happening.
They were supposed to fight at Night of Champions, and the WWE did a swerve at the very end, gave the belt to AJ Styles, and then they promoted Brock and AJ as the main event. See, I disagree because I think if it was two shows with the same roster, they would have actually less exposure. See, I think the WWE is sort of, in a sense, it's almost like your biggest Amway product. They're going to give you the marketing tools, they're going to give you the imagery, and then to some extent, and guys do get pushed, but to some extent, it's their ability to connect with the audience. And we do know that, yes, there are some backstage stuff, and we'll talk about certain guys that seem to get a great reaction from the crowd, yet still seem to be ignored in terms of big storylines and big wins.
Yeah, like I remember, like I was watching SmackDown a couple weeks ago, and out came Bobby Roode, and I was all excited. I'm like, listen to this glory! I just love it. Like this is the next coming of Macho Man to me, and Ric Flair. It's like Macho Man and Ric Flair had a baby, and it's Bobby Roode. And then he gets in the ring, and I forgot who he was wrestling, and he lost to somebody who I didn't even know, and I was like, all right, well he's done. Like that's the feeling that I got. So
is that a problem though? Is it because what I'm hearing is, and I do the same thing too, I look at these guys and I go, wow, he could be the next Shawn Michaels. He could be the next Undertaker instead of he could be the next or the best Bobby Roode that he can be. I do agree. I'm always trying to slot guys into these known quantities that we've watched for years, and maybe in a sense that does hurt them or limit them.
Well, let me ask you this, because there was a period of time where I wasn't really watching, but
same thing was me.
But I don't think those times, because you're much more familiar with the NXT guys than I am. Let me ask you this: when the Shield came in, okay,
yes,
they all came from NXT. Did they come together?
Yes.
Okay, that's a big deal. Okay, when these guys just start.
Well, two of the guys actually wrestled together in Ring of Honor. Ambrose and Rollins.
But they had a history, and then they show up together.
Yes, they did.
Kind of like, almost like when like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and Malenko, and that Moppy guy came in, Saturn. Yeah, like it was a big deal. Here's the Shield. Here are these three guys coming together as a package, and they were over immediately. But when these guys just start showing up for the sake of showing up, it's almost like they run 60 miles an hour into a brick wall. And that like the Shield was effective right away.
I could argue, though, that an occasional guy or gal still breaks through. For example, I would say a guy like Elias on Raw was a guy that they sent up to NXT. They sent up from NXT, and the general feeling was, why or too soon? Yet he seemed to have connected really well with the audience, and I feel like unless there's some kind of major screw-up, he's going to have at least a very solid mid-card run as an entertainer.
He's got a hook. That's the thing. He's got a hook. Look at Rusev. Okay, Rusev 2 years ago was the polar opposite of what he is now. He went from being the mean bad Russian to almost leaving the company, and now he says it's Rusev Day, and all of a sudden, in 2 weeks from now, that's going to be the new Yes movement.
Could be
like it's all about that hook. So Bobby Roode has a great entrance, but it kind of stops there. Okay. What's the guy's name?
Shinsei Nakamura.
Shiitake,
come on.
Sushi, whatever.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, he's got that presentation in the ring, but it's not just about wrestling skill anymore. If you want the next Shawn Michaels, you have to have what Shawn Michaels had, which was not just the ability to do death-defying Cirque du Soleil type leaps off cages. he had to be able to jump up and tell a joke right
So-
afterwards, like that.
This is my last point, and I want to move on because we got a lot of stuff to cover. I think the Rusev Day was also a combination of the pairing with the dude from the Vaudevillians who could sing, and it was just, I think they took
Yes.
two guys together who had nothing going on,
Yes.
and I think those guys put their heads together and said, can we make meatloaf out of chopped meat here?
Yeah.
And I think it's stuck. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
But then the same thing happened with Elias.
Okay, but let's move on. We got a lot of stuff to cover.
Okay.
After the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, Dean Ambrose versus Baron Corbin, and sorry guys, no one gives a fuck, no one gives a shit. Match over, who cares? Mania opens, we got pyro, we got excitement.
Well, let me go back to that though, because you've got Ambrose, who his music plays, the place goes nuts, and they're putting him on the pre-show. It's like they want certain people to fail.
No, I don't think so. I
know they don't, but it's like
it just, I think
doesn't make sense.
I think like a roller coaster, there's high points, there's low points. It depends on storylines, and I think just some years. Here's the thing: there's only so many spots. You can't.
That's true.
There's only so many spots.
That is true.
They got over 60 guys contracted up at the main roster. There's just, I actually like.
Who did he wrestle against?
Baron Corbin, and I actually like Baron Corbin. I love his song. I love his presentation. I love his gimmick or his hook. But he's done Midland. He's had a Midland response since he's been up there. But hopefully, Ambrose got pushed back into the spotlight when they did the Shield reunion.
Yeah,
but it just
and he
got
got
messed
hurt.
up. He got hurt. Roman Reigns got. So it
And
just.
now Rollins is back in mid-card status, but I'm sure
And we'll get to him. So Mania opens. You and me are sitting up in the nosebleeds. We're
we're
drinking.
not at the nosebleeds today.
Okay, but we're drinking stale cups. We're drinking flat cups of Coke and stale, overly salted popcorn. And there's a Spanish dude who's way too drunk, cursing behind us, shouting obscenities. And we go to the opening match. And if you remember,
This is the beginning.
the first match was AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
And going into that match, most pundits gave this match little chance to have a major impact. Yet I remember this match being very, very solid, kept my attention. It's early in the card, so I'm pretty fresh still at this point. And I walked away thinking Shane McMahon is actually not bad.
He's terrific.
He can go up against a bunch of guys with different styles. Match had some really good back and forth. AJ works that quick work rate versus Shane, who's kind of like an MMA ground and pound kind of guy, realistic strikes. Mr. Tito gives the match 2.5 stars, criticizing it as an unrealistic portrayal of a 47-year-old non-wrestler somehow hanging in there with a 39-year-old world-class wrestler. What do you remember about the AJ Shane match?
It was terrific. You had two guys who had some chemistry, who worked well together. Shane's always looking to take that nasty bump, and the match kind of leads up to that point. Like, you have all that anticipation. Like, what's it gonna be? What's Shane gonna do? What stupid thing is Shane gonna do? And then when he does it, he always seems to outdo himself, and that's great.
What stupid thing did he do against AJ?
I forgot.
I think he just did the Van Daminator, that
Either
jump.
way, but just somebody who we hadn't seen in a while, and he's been back a couple of years, but just he's Shane McMahon. But in response to that, as a promoter, I'm going to, if I'm looking to build the guys on the roster, okay, why am I going to push Shane McMahon? Okay, he doesn't need it. He's going to do a match, and then he's not, like Mr. Tito said, he's a non-wrestler. But you want to have a great match with some high-flying spots? Why isn't Ambrose in a program with AJ Styles at that point? Okay, why does it have to be Shane McMahon? Shane McMahon doesn't need a ring career, but Ambrose does.
All right, now I'm going to speak.
Okay.
They were on different shows.
Well, that I know.
And again,
the
I
brand splits.
still say, I am a fan of Dean Ambrose, but some years it's the luck of the draw. And I went into this match with very little anticipation. I remember thoroughly enjoying it. And I think Shane, I didn't walk away with this, world-class wrestler, just barely beat. I think it was enough that Shane had enough advantage, but AJ, I just felt like it was overall a very exciting match. I happen to think it was one of the better matches in last year's card.
Yeah, and you know what the best thing about it was? It's like a Ron Howard movie.
Go ahead.
Like Apollo 13. Okay, great movie, right?
Yes.
Great movie. You know how it ends before you go in. Yet it's still a white knuckle ride.
Okay.
Okay? That's what this match was. You knew AJ was going to beat Shane.
You knew. I don't know if I would call it a white knuckle ride.
No, but you were still enthralled by the match. You knew who was going to win. You knew that there's no way AJ is jobbing to Shane McMahon. Yet the match was exciting. It was thrilling, and it was just like a movie that you know how it's going to end. But getting there is the journey, is the enjoyment, not the end, not the ending, and that's what made that match special to me. It was two guys who you liked, who you cared about. There really wasn't a fan favorite in that. They were both equally liked and not liked. It was very balanced, and it was just fun. It was two guys beating the crap out of each other. Who doesn't like that?
Up next was Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens for the United States Championship. This match will probably be remembered for the great lead-up to the actual match. We had the list that was by Chris Jericho, the Festival of Friendship in which Chris Jericho turned on Kevin Owens.
No, it was Owens who turned on.
Oh, you're right. Excuse me. Kevin Owens turning on Chris Jericho. And so when I was thinking about this, Chris Jericho maybe, as an older veteran, has the best ability to reinvent himself time and time again. He's come back to the WWE. What is your favorite incarnation of Chris Jericho?
The last one. The whole thing with the list. I mean, even though he's older and he looks it, and his ring skills aren't what they were, this last run of his, he was as, if not more, entertaining than he's ever been. He's had so many different catchphrases over the years, from Raw is Jericho to you just made the list. Well, guess what the most famous one is? You just made the list. Little kids say that. Okay, I hear it in school. All right? People don't even watch wrestling. They know what the list is. Sorry, I keep burping.
Yeah, can you not? I'm trying to run a show here, pal.
But this last, I wasn't a huge fan of the bromance with Kevin Owens, because it kind of, I liked Kevin Owens more as like the tough brawler, I see him as a face kind of guy, like a guy that I like almost like a Stone Cold, a guy that the crowd can get behind, who's just like looking to just be real and tough. And I thought that kind of cheapened him. And
can you please clear your throat? You're a mess. You're disgusting. Oh my God.
But Jericho sold that whole thing as if it was this last run of Jericho's was, to me, the best.
You're completely wrong. 2009 Chris Jericho, the best in the world at what I do. That to me, because his first run was phenomenal. He came in from WCW with a lot of hype. The Millennium Man, Y2J.
Yes.
Then he did a second run. He kind of wore the vest, kind of a rock star-ish kind of thing. The third time he came back as the rock star, and then he was silent. And then he started wearing suits and became very slow on the mic. And I remember the roster being kind of thin, and there was that great mid-year run where it was not really too many high-level pay-per-views, and I don't remember exactly what, but I just remember as a fan really enjoying his work. Now, for the actual match...
He's always must-see. Wait. Evan's shaking his head right now. He's always must see TV.
You mentioned his ring work. I do think for an older guy, he's still pretty darn solid.
Yeah,
I mean,
but his in-ring performance is not the best. As you know,
he's my age. He's 47, and he's starting to look it. I mean, yes.
But look, his best in-ring work was probably when he was with WCW, but that doesn't matter because it's the whole package. And but listen to everything you just said. You know, you just went through all the incarnations of Chris Jericho, where he didn't change his name. You know, he was always Chris Jericho, but every single one of those quote unquote gimmicks got over.
Before we get to the match, does he have one more run in the WWE?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So let's talk about the actual match. Mr. Tito gave the match 3 stars, called it solid, if not memorable. The match is probably, in my mind, best remembered for the footage on Kevin Owens' 24 WWE documentary, in which Kevin Owens goes backstage after the match in the gorilla position and sees Vince with the headset, and Vince puts his finger and shakes him off with displeasure at the match. So what were your thoughts on the Owens Jericho match at WrestleMania?
You know, I didn't see that 24,
it really broke Kevin Owens' heart. And actually, that documentary, it's almost I felt like watching it. He was the young son looking for dad or grandpa's approval, and Vince wasn't mean, but Vince shook him off like no, and whatever Vince was feeling, he was not big on the match.
That's what's great about the network and all this stuff, to have so much to digest and talk about. I did not know that, and I'm curious to know what Vince McMahon saw that we didn't, or what he didn't see that we did.
So you liked the match?
Yeah, very much. It was a great wrestling match. You know, it was pure wrestling.
I remember Jericho took a sick bump on the ring apron.
Yeah.
He got like power bombed.
And Kevin Owens is fantastic for a big guy like that. He's
okay, but I want to touch base with just what you said.
Do you know the answer to what I asked? Do you know the answer? Like why?
Well, I think ultimately, if Kevin Owens is not the WWE look, and he's always going to be hampered. He has an indie look. He's a chubby guy. He doesn't wear really ring gear into
You're saying I wouldn't get over in the WWE?
I didn't say that. I think what I said was he's hampered by his look. I don't think he's ultimately, will he reach the level of John Cena? And that's that's an extreme example, but no. Could he be a solid mid-card guy? Maybe mid-card plus from time to time? Absolutely. But is he going to reach? No, because I just don't think the WWE ultimately is going to put their heavyweight championship belt long-term, short periods of time, sure. Transitional champion, sure. Top heel for periods of time, sure. But I just don't think Kevin Owens has an indie, kind of sloppy look to him, and I just don't.
But see, when they when he first came on the scene, and he was on his own, he was on fire in the beginning.
Well,
since then, he seems to always be paired with someone, and he's not as.
I'll say this: the WWE, I think, has evolved somewhat, or maybe a lot. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, a guy like Kevin Owens doesn't even get a sniff. Right. So the WWE has certainly promoted heavy set guys.
Reference?
No. And they'll promote smaller guys. And
the guy in the next room said,
matter of fact, smaller guys really actually who have quick work rates seem to be really what they're kind of pushing now. And we could talk about that in a little bit. But he came in NXT. He had a strong feud with Sami Zayn, and I think he was kind of like a Triple H guy. And so he came in, he got the big win against John Cena on Raw. And yes, I think he's had some ebb and flows along the way, and I think he'll continue to do so. And I think actually most people say their storyline leading into WrestleMania this year has been the best, by far, the best storyline with Shane, with those guys interweaving their friends or enemies, now they're friends, against Shane, Daniel Bryan. I mean, and we'll talk about that specifically.
Speaking of that, just for a second, so I don't forget, wasn't Shane like on his deathbed like a week ago?
He was, but he had, I think...
Or was that kayfabe?
No, he was in the diverticulitis, I believe. Or
I mean, they tweeted that out like he was in deep shit.
It's nothing a B12 shot won't clear up. Who knows? Now here,
from Dr. Bob Bondage.
He's not a full-time performer, and actually, I don't think he falls under the wellness. Certainly, Brock Lesnar didn't. I mean, Brock Lesnar failed the MMA, the USADA, and he still wrestles for the WWE. So, next match was the female four-way.
Skip it.
Yucca, unzip my pants for the Raw Women's title, featuring.
We both fell asleep.
Featuring Sasha Banks, aka the next Mrs. Moody, Nia Jax, aka the next Mrs. Gruthius, Bailey and Charlotte, aka the next feature dancer at the Booby Trap. And so, one thing Mr. Tito noted, and I completely agree, and I don't agree with him a lot, Bailey, the actual champ, comes out first for this match, and I hate that. I want the champ to come out last, even if it's a weak champ. What are your thoughts about the order and introduction of a match and how the WWE plays with that from time to time, or does it a lot?
They play it. They play it for the crowd. They just do. They. I think Vince McMahon has like an Alfred Hitchcock thing kind of going. He loves to play the audience like a piano. He loves to just push the buttons here and push the keys there and like bring it to a crescendo here and there. I think that's all that is. Just what he's feeling like now's the time for this and now's the time for that. But it's funny you mentioned that, because as I told you before we started the podcast, I've been watching old stuff, and I forget the match and I forget the event, but it was Jesse Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon, and I know what it was. It was WrestleMania 5. It was Hulk Hogan versus Savage for the championship. Savage was the champion. Savage came out first, and Ventura on the air questioned that.
I hate that.
He's like, yeah, but he was like, why is he coming out first? He's the champion. He should be coming out last.
I hate
of course, Hulk Hogan has to be like. That's like. So he was.
I am not kayfabing you at all. I hate that. I absolutely. I want the champ. I don't care if it's.
No.
I want my champ to come out last.
But it was interesting how Jesse, their on-air guy, was criticizing what they were doing, and I don't think that was kayfabe at all. I think Jesse was being Jesse.
So let me ask you, and this is not even on my notes, I'm going to just play off what you just said. I miss the performance announcers.
Yes.
I do. Even going back to Taz and Michael Cole, and Taz was kind of a bad guy, JBL, they really play 3 or 4 or 2 straight men now. And there's a little bits of hints and innuendo, but for the most part, they're really playing it a color commentator and a play-by-play. And I don't think you want to go back to the days of the over-the-top Jesse Ventura, but why do they not have these guys who have a point of view that can maybe portray in their verbiage storylines? And I miss the old heel announcer.
So do I, but you're also talking about a situation where there are no real faces and heels anymore.
True, good point.
So it's like the line is very thin now. But interesting that you said that, because I as I said, I've been watching.
It's thin like my hairline. It's thin.
Yeah, and I was watching.
Here we go. I was watching SummerSlam 13.
No, it was before that.
Oh my God!
But the announcers were Gorilla Monsoon, who was the faciest of face.
Loved him.
Yes, and Superstar Billy Graham, who it was like watching. It was painful to listen to.
Well, Superstar Billy Graham, he must have had a short run, because I don't remember him doing much.
But he was all. I mean, he was watching two face guys, bashing the heels, and like it was boring. I was like, "Where's Jesse? Where's Jesse?" Where's Jesse? Where's Heenan? Where's that? Like JR and Jerry. You have that chemistry. The guys the guys out there today, for some reason they seem to think that they need a professional, like Santo, whatever his name is, that crybaby over there. But also, remember the guy who had like a meltdown or something because his mother was sick, or I don't know.
Mauro Ranallo.
Whatever his
He's
name is.
bipolar. He has an identified mental
Right,
diagnosis.
well, guess what?
You cruel bastard.
Do
Do you have now any compassion in your heart?
Tell it to the Marines. What are you doing on TV?
Great. We're going to have some mental health organization protesting.
Hey, I got issues too. I'm on meds and I'm not on TV.
Right.
No one's hiring me to do color. But you also have. Let's see, on Raw you have.
All right, we don't have to go through every announcer.
Okay.
We have 17 hours to discuss it.
But I'll tell you. I'll give you one opinion.
I asked you a question about do you miss the old time heel announcers? Stick to the topic.
But just as I miss the old time face announcers, because now everybody is sliced down the middle.
Yeah, but I was always quote unquote attracted to the Jesse Ventura, the Bobby Heenan.
Well, yeah,
anybody could be sort of a
but
Gorilla Monsoon was a great play-by-play guy. Yes, he was a face announcer, but
the heel guy was always the color guy.
I miss that.
And the only color guy they have now is Booker T. Sorry for
that is bad. I know you weren't too jazzed.
Hall of Famer Booker T.
I know you weren't too jazzed about the women's match, but there was a couple of highlights. The three girls team up. They eliminate Nia Jax. Charlotte did a pretty crazy moonsault outside of the ring. That's pretty much all I remember from the match. However, hold on. Shockingly enough, Bayley retains to keep the belt. Mr. Tito gave the match 2 stars, called it underwhelming. And again, we'll see this Sunday at WrestleMania for many of the matches. And I know you're not a women's fan, but forgetting that, is it a case of too many wrestlers in the ring, these 3-way, these 4-way matches that are visually very busy, sometimes way too complicated, and therefore, if it's not done well, can be either a train wreck or just out and outright boring?
With women, you know why? Because I believe that women's wrestling, their styles are all too similar. They have the same type of moves. They're just like, I never know who I'm watching. I identify them by breast size.
Oh my God!
But actually, the what you're saying is true, and I will tell you what I realized a few months ago when I went to Monday Night Raw in Miami. Wait, listen.
I'm listening. I'm chuckling. I'm enjoying your answer.
I went to Monday Night Raw and I sat in the 3rd row.
You never answer the question. There's always a story or an analogy. Back in '84, I went to Bon Jovi.
All right. Yes.
All right, go ahead.
No, I realized why I still can't get into women's wrestling without mud. And
is that because what?
No, it's because when you're up close, all right, it looks fake.
I think you should
really
just.
Does.
Hold on. I think you should just come clean right now.
What?
Break down all the barriers and admit that you're gay.
No, I want to see if there are women in the ring. I want to see them naked.
I actually read something. I read something that 35% of the WWE's current viewership they have measured to be female.
I'm gay. Did you see the conniption I had when Miss Kitty took her top off and the cable went out?
We were there.
We were there, and we were. I was in tears. We missed it.
Yeah, I think ultimately it was a bad match. I do agree with you that the women's styles.
But what I was saying was when I was right, I had never had those kind of seats for a wrestling show ever, and I was right up front. And
so go ahead. It didn't look real.
It looked fake. The punches looked fake. It just looked like you could almost hear them talking to each other in those high pitched voices. And it's not. And there was something different about the men's matches that just made them more authentic.
So, with that being said, and just stick to the question, will performers like Ronda Rousey and Asuka, they have a very more MMA ground and pound, maybe a somewhat more realistic style, stiff, strong style, these kind of things. Hold on, will that maybe bring an element?
I hope so. Look,
we'll talk about them in
Ronda
Rousey.
Ronda Rousey.
I'm just talking about style.
Yeah, well,
don't get to the match. We'll talk about the match, Leslie.
Style. She put Triple H to a table. That's a men's style. Women have to start wrestling like the men, and I don't mean that in a well, yeah, I do mean it as a sexist thing. No, I don't. That's what works. That's what sells. Okay, people, you see the merchandise of the male wrestlers. Much, I don't know. It's not clicking.
I think that's evolving, though, and I think that. And listen, I'm an old school guy, and I'm a male wrestler guy, but I have to admit, they're getting more and more viewership on the shows. They're getting more. Oh, come on now, you got to be honest. You may not like it, but
when? When do I have to be honest?
Well, there are more and more young girls in the audience now, and I think that they're.
Well, that's why I like to go.
And I think it's an untapped. I think it's an untapped potential. Up next is the obligatory Hall of Fame intro is obviously highlighted by Kurt Angle, and we'll talk about Hall of Fame and Kurt Angle.
I enjoy those.
Yeah, so do I. Let's move on. We go to the 3-team ladder match for the WWE Tag Titles.
Was this when the Hardys came out?
Big Cass and Enzo, Gallows and Anderson, Cesaro and Sheamus. So, of course, rumors and innuendo are that the Hardy Boys are in town the night before they drop the Ring of Honor Tag Titles to the Young Bucks. Before the match, out come New Day to a huge pop, and they announce that there's going to be a 4th team added to the mix. And of course, it's the Hardy Boys. And honestly, to me, the place just absolutely erupted. We were there live for one of the greatest audience pops in the last 20 years when the Hardy Boys came out?
Yes.
Okay. Match takes place.
But the match didn't live up to that.
Oh, well, let's talk about it. There was a couple of big spots. Sheamus gets swantoned by Jeff Hardy, breaks through the ladder. Matt grabs the titles, and delete. We have new tag champs. Mr. Tito gave the match 4 stars, calling the match damn fun and saying the Hardys returning was a great WrestleMania moment. What say you about the match?
The match, see, Mr. Tito and me, we agree a lot, but there's one thing that Mr. Tito is in that like, he loves great wrestling. Me, I need the story to be there. Okay? You could put an incredible action sequence in a movie, but if you don't care about who's driving the car, it doesn't do it for me.
So hold on.
I could care. Well, all right.
But so were you not sold on the story of a great veteran tag team returning to past glory?
Love that part of it.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just asking you.
I could care less who they were fighting.
Okay.
Like Sheamus and
I
would love those guys to just disappear.
And we'll talk about Sheamus and Cesaro later. So I'm going to hold my thoughts on those guys. Up next, I know you're going to have a lot to say here. Miz and Maurice versus Cena and Nikki Bella. And
made me sick.
Okay, and basically, I'm not even going to look at my nose because I'm right there with you. I thought it was a terrible match. I thought the lead was fantastic. The Miz was really unleashed on the mic. The great impressions of Cena. Maurice was great.
What a waste.
And so, again, the WWE in a big spot seems to bury the Miz. Yet, you're a movie guy, just like Freddy Krueger, Jason. He comes back to life and reinvents himself and finds himself in that strong mid-card to main event status year after year. What are your thoughts on the Rolling Stones 2017 Wrestling Superstar of the Year, The Miz?
Is that true?
Yes, Rolling
Stone?
Rolling
Stone covers wrestling?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, online version. You got to go on.
Damn.
Under sports.
That thrills me.
So does Forbes.
No, I mean, I'm saying that
CBS Sports, NBC.
That chose The Miz.
And the Rolling Stone, by the way, so just to interject, they're a very strong proponent of the WWE, but even more of indie wrestling because it's kind of like an indie underground. Wow. They want to keep that. So yes, they gave Miz the 2007. Miz, yes.
I think that's fantastic. I don't know if I agree with it because I still think he was underused.
For but yet I still
But-
grew. He got buried at WrestleMania. Then a couple of months later, it's like
Okay,
nothing
all
happened.
right.
And I mean,
All right.
was that not a
Yes,
perfect moment?
He survived that.
And so let me
to survive what he survived at WrestleMania, and to come back stronger.
think about this. I really have strong feelings. They shit all over the Miz in that match. I'm gonna tell you why. A couple of months later, John Cena is being booked in these quickly run dream matches because we know that Cena's definitely he's on a limited run from here on in.
Right.
So they're trying to get him in with Reigns and this one and that one, Braun Strowman on Raw. That was the perfect opportunity to take this guy and give him some shine on the grandest stage of them all. And then they do a canned wedding proposal. You can't tell me that was not.
They made it about Cena.
Oh, it was terrible.
Even though
I love John Cena. Don't get me wrong.
I'm a great fan of Cena, but if Cena's going to be part-time, why you giving? Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares if he's getting married? Great,
Well,
fantastic. Good luck. But why is that your WrestleMania moment? Are they real? Is that them appealing to female fans? Is that what they're doing?
listen, John Cena, similar to The Rock, has tremendous crossover appeal, and I think it got a lot of mainstream press. E! Channel, these kind of, these kind
Amy
of.
Schumer writing for the WWE.
But
The Miz. But to answer your question, I am thrilled that they gave the Miz that honor, and I hope he rides it and they let him ride it. But for some reason, I feel like they're holding him back.
Well, we're going to talk about his spot on the card, and we're going to talk about him in a little bit. I will say this. He was a guy who came from a reality show, and I think both fans and wrestlers in the locker room alike gave him very little credibility. And he cut a promo on JBL a couple of years ago talking about the kind of bullying and harassment that he went through for years. And and listening to the story really earned my respect. He couldn't dress with the guys. He couldn't go to the same bathroom. He couldn't, same bus. And this guy put up with it because he had such a desire to be a WWE superstar. And I'll speak more about what I think of him when we get to the actual match this year. But I was glad to see it, and I'm glad to see he's being positioned as such, though I tend to agree with you. Probably, I'm hoping against it, probably he'll be used as fodder to maybe push somebody else.
Well, there's proof of that already. What I saw on this week's Raw.
Yeah, I didn't think so. What did you see?
He
didn't wrestle. He was on the mic commentating on the Finn Seth match, and he's trying to sell us that he's a changed man because now he's a dad.
All right, if they're going to swerve that, that's one thing, okay? But if he's going all gold dust on us now,
oh God,
with that, the interview with Terry Reynolds and the if you had anything to say to your dad, what'd you say? Dad, no one can do gold dust like me. Is that where we're going with him, or is that the face turn? Is the face turn we're supposed to root for him now as this caring father, or is it going to be a swerve? Because if they're trying to turn a face, that ain't the way to do it.
I believe my answer is no, but I want you to hold your thought because we're going to talk about the Miz in a little bit. So next we move on.
He's right now my number one favorite wrestler right now.
Well, we know that you like the cheesecake sexy guys.
Christian,
hairless, well-oiled, and youthful.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Triple H versus Seth Rollins. So when I was researching this match, I remember actually.
I have a timeout for.
Do you need a timeout?
No.
I remember.
The bathroom and.
Don't bring the mic in there. And spray, for God's sakes. And spray. I remember now.
I needed a rag and some quiet.
Oh, well. Please don't use my school-issued laptop. I remember, though I'm a big fan of both guys, I remember not caring too much about this feud, even though I like both guys. And so I thought about it, and I want to ask you, is this part-time thing with Triple H starting to lose a little of its bloom?
I love it.
Okay, because I feel like when he went to this part-time stuff maybe 4 or 5 years ago, let me just hold. It was special. Sting felt very special. Brock Lesnar, I wasn't a fan of the setup of the match, felt special. This one with Seth Rollins didn't feel special. And Triple H is still fantastic in the ring, but I feel as well, not to the extent of Jericho, because Triple H has been part-time for a couple of years, so maybe he doesn't have that damage to his body quite. I feel like he's starting to slip back a little bit, and I feel like maybe throwing Triple H on the card is not quite the panacea that it used to be. I don't have any proof of it. I'm just asking you, are we starting to lose? Is Triple H falling slowly into Undertaker territory where it's a matter of time?
I don't think so. I think because with him and Rollins, there was legitimate heat, and it worked. There was a story. There was a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that match was the end, and it was fantastic. I thought it was great.
Okay, so but here's my here's my follow-up to that. It doesn't seem that losing or beating Triple H is quite the shine that it used to, because Seth Rollins has kind of been all over the place as well.
That's not Rollins' fault. That's the WWE booking. They still think Roman Reigns is, evidently they can't push two guys at the Shield at the top at the same time. But to get back to Triple H, you're going from that. Is that the last time he wrestled? WrestleMania?
No, he's wrestled once or twice. He did he did Survivor Series. He was on Team Raw.
Yeah, I think people still really enjoy seeing him in the ring. I know I do.
So do I.
And this one coming up, to me, I'm looking forward to it.
Don't spill the beans. We want to talk about that.
My answer is no. I don't think he's at Undertaker status. Yes, I don't yet. I think he's. I'd like to see more of him.
Okay, so both guys come in. They have gassed up, cool entrances. Triple H is on the police motorcade with Stephanie, does the motorbike thing. Seth Rollins does the Kingslayer with the torch and the special effects. And we get the usual Triple H match moments. We see Stephanie feigning as she's going to go in and interfere. And Stephanie's exaggerated facial expressions.
I had my chance right
sledgehammer.
Could have gone right in and just...
So the coolest thing I remember about the match is Stephanie takes a great table bump.
She's so hot.
Stay with me now.
I'm here.
Stephanie takes a great table bump, which was a surprise to me. Seth Rollins gets the clean, well-deserving win. Mr. Tito gave the match 3.5 stars, calling it a damn good match with some good psychology. I was a bit underwhelmed. You already gave me your thoughts, but you liked the match.
Because of what Mr. Tito said. There was heat there. See, it's like I would compare that to Hogan Andre. Because
hold on, stop. You're not comparing Triple H, Seth Rollins on any kind of level to Hogan Andre. Please don't tell me that.
Whoa.
Please don't tell me that.
Not on the worldwide spectacle of it, okay? But the reason it was
I will
good,
rip this microphone off and I will do the Moody Moose.
No.
Nothing. I won't even call it worthwhile. I'll just call it nothing. You can't. Come on.
Wait a minute. You're not hearing me, okay? Not on 30 years in the making or like the biggest match of all time. Not on that level. I'm talking about why it was good. It was good because it was more than a wrestling match. It was about these two guys. It had the psychology, just like Tito said. The Hogan Andre match was not a great wrestling match, but it was enormously entertaining, and it was so exciting. And there was so much tension in that thing, and that's what was. This didn't equal that on any level with that kind of level of tension, but I'm saying that's why the match was good, because there was that dramatic tension in the match.
Be honest. Hogan Andre today, with the crowd and the nuance of today's crowd, I'm not saying it wouldn't go over, but please don't tell me that Hogan Andre in 2017-18 would be remembered like it is in 89, 90, 91.
No way. You're absolutely right. But there's a good reason for that. Because if a challenge is made now, they're fighting next week.
What I see is, though, I mean, I agree with you with everything. But if you look at the match kind of critically, it's a terrible match per se. And I agree with you with the emotion. All that storyline is packed in there. But Andre is on his last legs. He can't even move in the ring.
Right.
That match today, it might have been somewhat fondly remembered emotionally, but it's going to get teared up on and today's fan.
Oh, but yeah, exactly.
That was my question to you.
And again, I bring it back to
it's a different time.
It's movies. Okay, let me ask you this, because we like pop culture, and I know we're talking about wrestling here, but
go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Okay, what's your favorite superhero movie of all time?
Well, I would probably have to take time to think of it, but the first one that pops into my head is Iron Man.
Okay. You are the exception to the rule, in my opinion. My favorite is the original Superman with Christopher Reeve.
I would say probably number 2 would be Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve.
All right. Either way, I mean, you could group those together. Though I actually,
but why am I the exception to the rule? Iron Man's a great movie.
Yeah, Iron Man is a great movie, but today's audience needs that just grab you and big action sequence,
special effects.
Huge, it's got to be bigger than life. I showed on a day before a vacation, I showed the original Superman to a bunch of kids, and they were bored to death. They didn't want the tension, or they didn't want the build up. They didn't want to see all the talking and all this stuff. They wanted to see buildings blow up and people flying all over the place, and that's what today's audience needs to see. So that I equate that to exactly right. That's why the Savage Steamboat match from WrestleMania 3 is more remembered as one of your great matches. But even that, on today's level, would not get the respect that this younger generation gives to the bigger spot matches.
I don't want to debate that. I think Hogan Savage would have more credibility. And to go back to your superhero reference, and I don't want to debate this, but what sucked me into Iron Man was the incredible beginning in which he's taken as a hostage.
Yeah.
And they're building that initial prototype. Wasn't really a slam bam.
Yeah, and I'll say that Iron Man was a high watermark. Actually, one of my other favorites is the original X-Men. The original X-Men was pretty grounded, just like the original Iron Man was. As the Avengers things grew, they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you've got the DC ones that are all over the place, and they're making millions of dollars, so it's like bigger is better. That's the whole thing. That's what I think today's audience, wrestling and otherwise, needs. So ring psychology is not really what the kids are looking for.
Next match, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton, and we're going to skip that ridiculousness, and we're not going to discuss the actual match. However, what I would like to ask you is, what happened with Bray Wyatt? He had such a great old school gimmick, and I'm hoping that this possible new reincarnation could bring a little something back to him. But your thoughts on Bray Wyatt? He's just lost a lot of steam.
It's all in the booking. He hasn't changed. The booking has. They started using him as enhancement talent. Why do you need Randy Orton to get over now?
The match was so bad.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
It's terrible.
Why do you need? Why have that match in the first place? Randy Orton is, to me, nothing now. I never got him. But what I'm saying is, and then you have him beat Bray Wyatt, who is fresh, who is young, who's got this incredible mystique about him. It's like you love his entrance to the ring. Then once he's there, has he won a match in the last year?
So did Did he jump the shark? Initially, Bray Wyatt was his character was posited as almost a religious backwater kind of hillbilly who had sort of this extreme. He had like kind of a family, like a followers, and then they gave him mystical powers, and he went toe to toe with the Undertaker and lightning bolts, and it lost me from there. I wanted them to stick to that sort of that Cape Fear,
Yes.
and they went away from it, and I think they lost the character ever since.
Well, I think he was weakened when they
Kryptonite?
I think he was weakened when the Wyatt family was no more. Those guys together, they were creepy.
They sure were.
Three of them were creepy, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch them psych out not only the people in the ring, but everybody in the arena. And then you take that whole thing away, and you just have this guy doing, like some people need that other guy. Road Warrior Hawk does not work without Road Warrior Animal. I mean, it's like, why are you laughing? What?
It's like chocolate and peanut butter. Come on.
Bray does not have, because the whole power of Bray's character was the idea that he had his family brainwashed.
Yeah.
Which is thrilling to me.
I think he was kind of, to me, unhinged, and it was sort of that grindhouse, backwater, hillbilly kind of great promos that were kind of meandering, and I'm hopeful when that they do something with him.
But then you take away the invincibility, and people aren't when you have a horror figure, okay, and people aren't scared of them anymore. You got to change it up.
Well,
that's why they turned like Freddy Krueger into comedy.
Yeah.
I
could argue that in today's age, any of these sort of wrestling characters that are sort of positioned as these mysterious evil, that's nobody really buys into it. I mean,
they were buying into Bray until they blew it. Okay?
True. Okay, that's a good point. You mentioned Randy Orton, and I'm right there with you. I don't hate Randy Orton, but to me, he's like the wallpaper on this wall. I mean, he's never...
It's not even wallpaper.
He's won the belt like 13 times, and he will clearly go in the Hall of Fame, and he may even challenge Ric Flair's championship run. But I've never seen him on any level anywhere near Cena, Rock, even Roman Reigns. I don't see Randy Orton. So give me some thoughts on Randy Orton.
He's neither here.
Why did he not connect with you? He's connected. Why did he not connect with you? Because he didn't connect with me either.
Because there's nothing. There's no stakes. There's nothing to cheer for in him. There's nothing to boo either. It's like a Roman Reigns to me. It's like I don't care. There's nothing worthwhile. Ding. There's nothing worthwhile about his mystique or his thing. He's not funny. He's not. He's just not exciting. He might be a great wrestler, but there's nothing behind it. And this will definitely make you laugh and scratch your head, but the only time I found him interesting was when those couple times he had Cowboy Bob come out with him.
Yeah.
That was fun to watch.
Probably the last time I was really excited for a Randy Orton match is the lead up to the Undertaker match at WrestleMania. And that was the first time that I remember they floated the idea that the Undertaker has this crazy streak and this young guy could come in and snap it. And I remember him doing the RKO off the chokeslam, and I remember that was a great WrestleMania, by the way. We'll cover that long form at some point, maybe as well. But that was probably the last time that I was really excited about a Randy Orton match. I remember he brought the dad in, and there was a backstage segment where somebody said to him, "You got to make a name for yourself. So you got to go up and disrespect the number one veteran in the locker room." And at that time and so they went with that. So
he's like wallpaper to me. He's got nothing like.
Yeah, and he goes into WrestleMania as U.S. champ, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. Now I want to get into Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Short match, violent, And just like you said before, we knew going in who's going to win. We knew it was going to be Brock Lesnar, no doubt about it. Yet, I thought the match delivered. I was tired.
Definitely.
And the match delivered. So, I mean, for me, early highlight, Lesnar German suplexes Goldberg. Goldberg turns around and gives him a spear out of nowhere. Definitely caught my attention. Mr. Tito gave the match 3 stars, calling it perfectly acceptable and having both stars hitting their big moves. So let me talk about Goldberg for a second, because you wanted to talk a little bit about the WWE Hall of Fame. So Goldberg is your top guy this year going into the Hall of Fame. So when I was doing my research, I said I really was thinking about Goldberg, Jewish guy, and I was thinking about...
Happy Passover, by the way.
Thank you. And I want you to hear me out. I was thinking about a rock and roll Hall of Fame analogy. So I've always seen Goldberg as more Peter Frampton than the Rolling Stones. I think Goldberg has had maybe not in years, but in highlights, a very relatively short career of fairly brilliant highlights, but does not have the longevity of a Rolling Stones and passion. So where do you see Bill Goldberg not in the Hall of Fame, but in your wrestling pantheon? Where does Goldberg, where is he in the number line? 1, 5, 10, where does he fall? Talk to me about your thoughts on Bill Goldberg.
Is he in the top 50? Yes. Top 20? No. Top 30? No. But it depends. I mean, look. There's so much different criteria now.
Don't get sucked into criteria, because my argument always with the WWE Hall of Fame is there is no criteria. It's one guy who says bring him in or don't. So there's no and maybe there never ever will be, because it's a pre-staged entertainment. So but however, I just wanted to hear
wrestling irrelevant.
Right. So I just wanted to hear where do you see a guy like...
I just said it.
Okay.
Irrelevant.
Okay. Wow. Pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, but here's why, and I can't...
Well, let me ask you quick. Did you enjoy his comeback last year? His little renaissance? I did.
Yes. Because I enjoyed it, but it bothered me at the same time.
Why?
That makes sense.
Why?
Because...
Now you're on to something interesting.
Yeah,
why?
Because every time we saw him, no matter what he did, it was obvious that he still had no interest in the wrestling business. He had no interest in anybody else out there but himself. It was all about, he wants to do it for his son, he wants to do it for his family, it was all about me, and that bothered me. Now, the matches were well done. The story that the WWE put together for him as far as the matches and the feuds with that he was in, well done. I give them credit for that, not him.
Okay, so let me respond to some of your points.
Go ahead.
I'm actually the opposite.
Okay.
And if you saw the WWE the Goldberg documentary, the 24,
I did.
Okay, I think actually this time he had good thoughts, and I feel he was passionate. Let me hear me out. He wanted to come back. I do agree he wanted to do it for his son, and you could make a lot of guesses as to his thoughts in regards to that. I agree that the first match with Lesnar was well done because nobody saw that coming. But it was clear he can't really
give Lesnar the credit for that.
He can't really do it in the ring anymore. So I'm the opposite. I felt like this time he came in with a good attitude. He came in to kind of reclaim his legacy, and he wanted to end on a WWE run similar, maybe. Well, I would say similar to Sting, but Sting never had one. But I think Goldberg he knew his first run ended very shabbily. A lot of back and forth on the wrestling websites and media, but he was clearly not happy, hated Triple H. These two seemed to made amends and with Vince. So I think the feeling, and I don't know if passion's the right word, but definitely good thoughts and good nature was there. I think his in-ring work, I think that match was perfect. He couldn't go more than 5 minutes, Gru, and his body is broken down. So I think what he did.
Couldn't go more than 5 minutes before.
Well, that's why I asked you about where do you see him?
That's the whole thing. I think you say he wanted to.
Come on, don't you think he wanted to come back and say, "Hey, what I want to end?
Reclaim his legacy that a legacy that I believe he was given, didn't earn.
Who gave him that?
WCW gave it to him. They created him.
Right,
He's a
but
big guy.
but
It's not. Look,
I disagree with that completely. Of course, but they gave it to him, but he went out there and took it. And yes, I agree, the match streak and everything, but you can't fault. He was the one guy that they built homegrown talent. Everybody else was New York Yankee style. We're going to sign these big names to big contracts. They're fading stars, and we're going to bring them in, and we're going to get notoriety. And typical, it came in with a huge push, and it ended, and that's for another time to discuss. But I do have a lot of respect for Goldberg in the sense that he was the one homegrown guy. There was a couple of others, you could say Jericho a little, but he was the one massive superstar that was homegrown from beginning to end.
okay, from WCW.
Yes.
Give you that, but at the same time, the thoughts that I have about him,
I don't disagree with where you place him.
but again, are all about, just the way he talked. Because that 24 documentary chronicles his entire run.
Yes.
And the way he spoke about in the beginning, and he's like, I don't want to do this. I feel like I have screw you. How many people would give everything they have to be in a main event in WrestleMania, and you're sitting there like, oh, I don't need this. Go to hell, man. But then he comes back a year later with a whole new attitude. Why? Because he realized that he was given an opportunity, but too little, too late.
No, I see it a little differently. Now,
Okay.
I watched the same documentary. Now,
Right. And it was a good documentary.
whenever the last match with Lesnar, they showed clips of him on some local sports shows, really bad-mouthing the WWE. Now, when he came back for that second run,
He's not bad-mouthing WWE. He's bad-mouthing wrestling.
no, he was bad-mouthing the WWE.
All right.
No, I'm going to disagree. No, I remember this. He specifically spoke about he did not care for the excessive over-the-top violence, the portrayal of women. He was a guy that wanted to be.
WCW was guilty of that too.
They weren't on. Come
No.
on, they weren't on the same level as WWE. I'm not saying they weren't. Of course they were. They had their moments. Huge erection. I mean, come on, But see, now you got.
See it from there. You walk right into.
But he was not a fan of Vince McMahon. He was not a fan of the McMahon family. He was not a fan of Triple H. He went on record making a lot of comments about such. Now, when he came back, he made comments about my body, my diet. It's tough. Yes, I think he did excessively bellyache, but I think it was just him saying, I'm 50, 51, and this is pretty darn tough to keep in shape at this age and to go out there and do what I'm supposed to do. Did I also think he came across as a little bit of a whiner in that documentary? Yeah, a little bit. But I didn't see it as something where he's thumbing his nose or not thankful for this opportunity.
I just disagree. He was. It just didn't strike a chord with me. I mean, I liked that he came back because he brought heat. Anybody who brings heat, I'm good with. Okay, and he definitely brought heat, but his skill and if do you want to use this to segue into Hall of Fame, or do you want to come back to it?
We'll come back to it.
Okay, so that's my opinion on Goldberg. And I'll say this one more thing. It's got nothing to do with the Hall of Fame.
You can say whatever you want.
How he was using, every single
with the sun?
time. The sun, and I remembered back to the late '90s when Roddy Piper brought his son to the ring in WCW, and Piper was always, him and Hogan were always my favorites, and I remember him bringing his son to the ring. I'm like, oh man, don't go there.
You feel that's kind of a bailout?
Well, it looked like it was going to be a bailout, But it turned out he was using him in the wait. He was using his son.
You're a Roddy Piper fan.
Damn right.
And so pretty much whatever Roddy Piper did, you're not going
to... When I saw him do that, I was like, no, this is where I get off. I'm done.
No, let's call it what it is. Bill Goldberg bringing his son in there is it's kind of douchey for today's era in 2018. Maybe if
douchey then too.
It
was like in No Holds Barred when when Rip brought Randy into the ring. His friend to the end. Woo! All
right, last match of the card. Undertaker versus Roman Reigns. Very sloppy. It's not a good match. Had some good psychology going into it. My first question is, and we don't have to go long form on this, but we knew Roman Reigns had to win going into this match, right? I said,
based on the fact
No. What you had to know going into this match?
Yes, I
Roman
knew
Reigns was going to win.
Not for any good reason. He had to win because I believe he has pictures of Vince McMahon with a goat or something, because I can't figure out why he has to win.
So, and I don't, because we still have stuff to cover and we don't want this to be a 5-hour podcast. However, there's a lot of hatred for Roman Reigns, and I'm not saying the guy deserves to be this or that. He's a good wrestler. He has a good look. And I just feel he's been positioned as the internet wrestling community and the smart fans who are starting to bother me because they want to take over every Raw with the chants. And I just feel that this guy is almost now, he can't do nothing. And quite honestly, I don't want to, because we'll get into this, but I do hope he beats Brock Lesnar, because I don't want a part-time champion holding the belt anymore. I want a guy on Raw every night.
Well, we're not at this year's Mania yet, but isn't Brock done after this?
Yes, and we'll get into that. But I just feel Roman Reigns is tabbed unfairly at this point. I'm not saying there's no criticism, but he can't do anything right anymore.
It's not his fault. What happened with Roman goes back 4 years already.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault, Will. It's Roman is doing at the absolute best that he can do.
Quack quack.
By the way, does Imus go on Stern?
No, not anymore. That's for our Stern podcast, but
happened.
Howard went on there and did a pretty good rip job, an old school rip job on Imus.
That would have been great.
He played clips of his last show, but give me. I want to wrap up with Roman because I want to talk about the actual match. But give me your final thoughts on Roman in terms of
Roman just
fans.
When he won that Royal Rumble, everybody. That was a case where the WWE really dropped the ball, and sometimes they do have to listen to the fans.
I agree.
I know that they say that they're gonna lead. They're gonna be the Pied Pipers. They're gonna lead the fans. They know the fans better than the fans know themselves. Well, in some cases, that was Daniel Bryan's year. That was his time. That was his thing. And whoever was gonna win that Royal Rumble was gonna end up losing, and that killed Roman Reigns from then on. And now, every time they push him in the forefront, Jesus, every time they push him in the forefront, that it's the same thing. It's like, why him? Why him? Like, we've made it clear we don't like him. Turn him heel or get rid of him or whatever. It's got nothing. It's something that transcends skill and looks and all of the it factor. The fans have made up their minds on him. It's not going to change. And now, because the fans, well, all right, I'll wait on that because.
Well, I think a couple of things.
Segues into this year's WrestleMania.
I think that
Why not just put him in the Hall of Fame?
I think he was the victim of a couple of things.
That was one of them.
The year before, if you remember, he lost in the finals of the Royal Rumble to Batista, and the fans rained down boos on Batista.
But they hated Batista going into that thing.
Understood, but maybe that was the time to pop Roman and to actually give him, because he was being cheered. They were starting to slowly break the Shield off into individual
but
members.
They loved the Shield. The Shield was still together at that point. So
I said, but they were starting to individually package them a little bit more. I think also a bad move was having it in the city of Philly, when Philly is notorious for sports fans anyway, and they're notorious as WWE fans. So I think that that was a combination. If you look at the actual match, Mr. Tito gave the match 2 stars, saying essentially Roman Reigns can only do so much with a broken down Taker, and I agree pretty much with those sentiments. I thought it was actually a fairly unsatisfying end to a pretty damn good night of matches and entertainment. And we talked about this briefly, so I want to hear your thoughts briefly, because we still got a ton of stuff to talk about. But is the actual WrestleMania too long? I was exhausted by the end of the night.
Yes. But yes and no.
Come on, don't give me yes and no. It's yes, and then if you want to say, hey, this is what I would recommend. But, we're going to talk about the card this year. It's too fucking long.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you that
we could barely sit through a 2-hour movie.
Right.
This is going to be 7 hours plus. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, because they, I don't know. It's kind of hard to, because look, I'm learning a lot about why things worked 20 years ago that don't work today, and vice versa.
Okay, so what are your thoughts?
The shows were 2.5 to 3 hours back then. It was more about wrestling, yes. But one thing I noticed when I was watching, like even like a Mania, like 18 or 19,
Go ahead.
even one of the 90s ones, it's too big.
What do you mean?
It's too big, as in, like, size-wise. You look at WrestleMania 3, Pontiac Silverdome, humongous, but the action, it was all crowd and ring. Now you got roller coaster sets in the thing. It's like, it's larger than life. It's too. They need to make it so big. They have 10-minute entrances, with the motorcycles last year and all that. That's where the time's going. Get their asses to the ring. Remember the first WrestleMania? It was 30 yards from the Madison Square Garden entrance to the ring. Okay, they got to make these huge, long. Remember WrestleMania, whatever the one was with the Terminator? They had that whole thing, And the New Day hosting last year. There's too much of that. Stick to the matches, okay, and get it done.
You don't like the pomp and circumstance?
Not the pomp and circumstance that's not warranted.
You don't love a video package cool introducing a wrestler? I love that. And by the way, the Terminator thing got very much criticized on the internet, but I loved it. I fell for it. I loved it.
But we were also watching that one at home. And
true. But you didn't enjoy. I thought, I mean, I don't know if I can't say enjoy the word.
But going there is a different story, and like you're looking at so much time taken on things that they don't need.
Is there, okay, here's my question. Is there enough there? And I'm not saying I would even, my idea was a WrestleMania red and a WrestleMania blue, and I'm not saying that. But is there enough there to do a stadium show and maybe a super packed arena show on top of NXT TakeOver, on top of Hall of Fame, and you're there for like a solid week, and maybe the stadium show, the arena show leads into Mania, and I don't know, and I don't want to get into that. That's something we could talk about another time. But is there enough there to do something else?
I don't think there's enough top.
I mean, are you telling me from here on in we're going stadiums and we're going 7 hours plus?
Well, now I don't think there's enough top drawing talent to do that. Okay, and if you look at the matches that they have, there's a lot there. I would say I'm interested in about half of them.
Okay. You and
Demographics are too big.
You and I are.
That's the problem.
I would say pretty hardcore fans. I wouldn't say we're 10, but we're probably a strong 8+.
Yeah.
Okay. We do okay. We're not going to disclose salary, but we do okay. If money was somewhat not an issue, and WWE said, host city, we're doing another thing. We're going to do an arena show the night before, and it wasn't. You tell me you wouldn't. I would. I'd probably go.
Absolutely. It's always a joyful experience.
Of course,
But to get to your original question,
I just think it's too long.
It's because there's too much. There's too many moving parts.
I like the backstage vignettes when they're done well.
No.
I like the cool entrances.
Okay, all right.
I do like that stuff.
That's where we are in the times. That's
I like
fine.
Sometimes the special hosts.
However, okay, then look at it this way.
Go ahead.
Okay, you have
now we're on a good discussion.
Yes, you have the Raw Championship.
Yes.
And the SmackDown Championship.
Yes.
Are there 2 tag team championships?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 4 matches that have to happen right there.
Yes.
Okay, I think there's one intercontinental. There's an intercontinental and U.S.
6 belts right there.
Okay. That's.
I mean, three from each show. 6 belts. Okay.
So that's 6 matches already without getting into the women's. Okay, and then the stories.
Now you got and now you have the cruiser.
Yeah, so look at all of this. So if you had, like in the old days, a heavyweight champion, an intercontinental champion, and tag team champions. 3, and all right, I'll give you a women's champion. You have 4 belts that have to be on the line at WrestleMania. That's 4 matches, and then add in another 2 or 3 that are your big stories, and that's your top talent that's your World Series.
But here's the thing.
You're not playing a baseball manager is not playing 24 men unless he absolutely has to.
Understood.
World Series.
But it's different now. They got 2 shows.
Well, I don't
forget
like it.
And forget about.
You know what? I'm going home. I don't want to.
Forget about even Raw. But back in the day when we watched Superstars, it was still around a core 5 or 6 performers, and there was one women's champ. They have over 60 people just on the WWE roster alone, and then you're talking about NXT. They're constantly bringing in new talent. I feel like they're pretty much, I think, stuck. Now you may have. I think they're going to move towards now combined pay-per-views and only have one pay-per-view a month, which I think will behoove them because I think they're overexposed to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But the 2 show, somebody like a Bobby Roode could then, if you went to one show or you went to one combined roster, could get no airtime. At least here, a guy like Rusev has a fighting chance if he takes the ball and rolls with it. And again, yes, we know there's other factors involved, but I just think you're going to see from now on 2. I don't know, distinct shows, but you'll see definitely 2. So if you put it in a TV term, 2 different casts. And I like the idea of one pay-per-view, but back in the day, it was one show, and it was the same 5 or 6 guys. And
here's what I would do. Okay, now I don't know the numbers or anything. All I know is that they're probably making too much money to change the format.
Well, the WWE financials actually. And that it's probably the strongest it's been in a long time. Now they did some cost cutting, no more pyro at the shows. I
was disappointed in that.
So was I.
There was no.
I'm sure we're going to see pyro at WrestleMania. They're not going to cheap out on WrestleMania.
Probably not, but I thought it was a safety thing.
No, it was a cost.
But all right, so here's what I would do if here's what I would do as a fan. Okay, you give me one booking thing to do. All right.
But what's the answer to a 7-hour WrestleMania?
The answer is it's too much because you have to cram in every everything you've got.
And so
you have to put from Bobby Roode to AJ Styles to you have to get everybody from both sides in there. So if I were doing it, okay, I would make Raw the A show, SmackDown the B show. SmackDown, wait. SmackDown's the minor leagues. You're trying to get up to the major leagues. Okay? SmackDown would be what NXT basically is. Okay? A little bit hype though. What you do is you bring in personalities to enhance that talent. You bring in like the general manager roles there, the announcing team. Those are the ones that try to enhance the B-level talent on that show. Because the Cenas and those guys, they could sell themselves. Okay? They could go out there and own a crowd. They don't need all the, all the other stuff to do it. So you have the A show and the B show. The Raw pay-per-view is WrestleMania. The SmackDown pay-per-view that belongs to them is SummerSlam. That's what I would do.
Interesting.
They each show and all the rest throughout the year are combined. Take 3 matches from each, do a 3-hour show for each, and so Rusev, you're not gonna fight on Fastlane, but you'll go on Bad Blood or whatever, But you give each brand, as it were, their big stage. One is Mania, the other is SummerSlam, or create a new one.
So here's my thoughts. I think that's interesting, and I want to get to some other stuff, but I think already SmackDown is perceived to be the B show, and I think if you were to overtly, what would you say? How is it? My first thing would be, as a viewer, if we're going to come out and say the structure is these guys on show B are fighting again on show A, a criticism could be, well, where's the buy-in for me as a viewer? You're already admitting that this show is the minor leagues, and I hear you're going to hype it up and everything, and then I'm sure you're going to make some. So I think that would, to me, would be something of, it could be some criticism. But
I'll tell you exactly how you do it. You make it part of the storyline that one of your heel owners, like a Vince, is banishing certain he's going to be a bastard again. He's banishing certain people. He's building it up as the B show. You're going to go and rot in SmackDown. Okay? And Shane, you degenerate little punk who's been given everything, let's see what you can do. Like I did. Like I built up all this talent here at WrestleMania. I made these guys. I made Hulk Hogan. I made Roddy Piper. Let's see what you can do with Shinsei Nakamura.
Hey, you got it right.
Did I get it right?
Yes.
But that's how you build it up. You say, okay, Shane, you're going over to SmackDown, and I'm going to give you a big heaping pile of shit that you're going to have, and you announce this to the world, okay? And you're going to have to make it work. I'm tuning in to see if Shane can do that. I'm tuning in to see, story-wise, if Shane is able to take these B-level performers and make them special. And then, once they get special, then they go over to... So you disagree?
No. I think it's we could talk about that for 3 or 4 hours. It's definitely interesting. I mean, at least you try to provide a solution.
It's not a solution for because it's a problem that doesn't really exist. They're hemorrhaging money.
Here's the thing.
It's a solution to my problem.
They're not hemorrhaging money. They're making more money than ever. The problem is...
I thought hemorrhaging means that they have too much.
You're losing blood, hemorrhaging. Oh my God.
I'm not a science teacher.
I just wanted to ask you, I just can't stand a 7-hour anything.
I just gave you a way to solve that problem.
What am I, Sting? I'm having tantric sex with this. I don't want to do anything for 7 hours. Maybe sleep, that's about it.
Yeah.
All right.
But that would that not solve that problem?
We got to do that long form. We got to talk about that long form. But it's interesting. So, all right. Let's go to WrestleMania 34. I want to hear your match predictions.
Okay.
And we'll go back and forth. These are in no particular order.
Okay.
Triple H, Stephanie McMahon versus Angle and Rousey.
Well, you know Angle and Rousey are going to win. The question is, where is that going to, where are they going to end up as opposed to where they are now?
Okay, so
Because Rousey...
where is the match going to be on the card, and where should it be?
It should be... that's a good question. They haven't announced what the main event
I
is.
think it really could end up being the last match on the show.
I wouldn't mind that. If it's not the last match, it should be towards the beginning.
Oh, I think it should be towards the end. I actually... well, forgetting that, I agree with you. I don't see... Again, I always think of scenarios. I don't see any scenario other than Angle and Rousey. And as a matter of fact, I think you're going to see Rousey make Triple H tap out. I think they're going to give Ronda the biggest shine possible. And I think that this is a great way to bring her in. She's protected. She'll be in the ring, limited. Mm-hmm. She's probably going to look great. Stephanie McMahon looks great. Mm-hmm. Trained her butt off. Mm-hmm. And I know you have a thing for Stephanie. Mm-hmm. But I actually think you're going to see Ronda. I think you're going to see Ronda square off against a male a little bit, not a lot, and I think it's going to be probably not on the level of Goldberg Brock, but I think it's going to be short. It's going to be quick.
Interesting about this,
and I think you're going to see Ronda make Triple H or Stephanie tap. I want to see her make Triple H tap to give the biggest push possible.
See, it's interesting about this match because I'm really looking forward to seeing this mixed match because the women who
they don't do it anymore.
The women who are in it are not your typical what they called 2 years ago divas. They are male style wrestlers.
Well, Stephanie McMahon's not anything.
Right, but
she hasn't performed in 4 or 5 years.
Right, but she's not doing these weird backflips and these, and like.
You really have a hang up with women's wrestling
because it looks fake. It doesn't look right.
You really do.
I liked Glow.
Have you seen the TV show?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Love it.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Mark Maron's very funny in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the final thoughts. I want to move to. We got a lot of matches to cover.
Okay.
So you agree with me? It's going to be Angle and Rousey.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, here's I think.
But where do they go from there? That's the thing.
Well, I think first of all, Kurt Angle's not going to see much time in the ring. He looks terrible, man. He looks absolutely terrible. He's taken a couple of small bumps on the build-up. I think it's been a very good build-up. I think it's going to be a short match because I don't see Ronda. The more she goes in, the more she could be exposed. And I just don't think Kurt has got a lot left in the tank.
Right.
I think you're going to see Ronda make somebody tap, preferably trips.
That'd be great.
In some kind of real fun, kind of gimmicky ending where everyone walks home, happy. We still on?
Yep.
We good? So you agree with me?
Yep. That's should and will.
My question about Ronda Rousey, not about her, but do you like the way they brought her in and sort of this storyline leading up to it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's selling it. She's doing well.
Yeah.
Like as far as the way, like she doesn't have the greatest mic skills anymore. She doesn't have the greatest mic skills in the world, but the way she's got a look, she looks like a badass.
She does have a good look to her. I will agree with you.
I wouldn't mess with her.
All right. AJ versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Couldn't care less.
Wow. I disagree with you vehemently. I might actually look forward to this match the most, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, I'm a little bit of a fan, and I've watched their match from Wrestle Kingdom, I think 10, in New Japan, which was fantastic. I knew of Nakamura a little bit. I'm not a wrestling nerd, but I knew a little bit of him before he came even to NXT. And I like both guys. I think Shinsuke is going to win, but I want AJ real badly because I think AJ needs a real big WrestleMania win to start to cement his position. I think that I don't think he's going to be on the level of a John Cena, but his in-ring work, Rue, is so good, and he's getting
Yes.
old, and he's 40. And
AJ's great. I don't like the other guy.
Well, okay. Well,
I find him boring.
and so
Once the mat, like, because he's got that whole mystique thing, and he's a great performer.
who?
Nakamura.
Yeah, Mystique. He's been
No,
beaten
like
several
the-
times. Well, he has that Michael Jackson-y kind of. You don't love that? You don't love that song?
It's cool, but once the match starts, I want it to be over. I want, it's like, because
He has not connected with you at any level, really.
Not at all. Is there heat there?
Between the two guys?
Yeah.
They're selling it as sort of begrudging respect. Two faces almost. Well, I think you're gonna get a not scientific.
His big moment was after winning the Royal Rumble. AJ Styles.
Your racism is clearly showing.
That's
Wait, let me hear it again. What was it? What did he say?
who interviewed him? Michael Cole?
Or maybe the girl. What's her name? She does.
JoJo?
No, the
Renee
blonde.
Young?
Yeah.
All right. So, who are you gonna fight at WrestleMania?
And what does he say?
I'm gonna fight AJ Styles. And Jesse Ventura somewhere was going like, "What the hell did he say?"
Somewhere Donald Trump was building a wall, brick by brick. I'm keeping these guys out.
Yeah.
Well, I like to see Styles win. I
like it to be a short match. I think it'll be the longest match of the night.
Well, I think it could be a classic, but okay. Up next, I know you'll love this one. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns.
We know, unless, well, actually, you'll enjoy this.
That means I won't enjoy it.
All logic tells us that the way they've been building it up, because we know that Brock is done, at least for a while. I'm hearing he's going back to UFC and blah, 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 blah. So Roman's got to win the match. Otherwise, everything that they've tried to do goes into the toilet. Brock will sell it. Brock will do whatever the hell he can do to get those fans to cheer for Roman. He's tried. I give him credit over the last few weeks, but people still love Brock Lesnar. There's no way around it. Really the only way for Brock Lesnar to be hated and for Roman, who could be, you know what Roman needs? Paul Heyman.
And there's been some rumors that I don't think it's happening, but
me neither. Roman needs Paul Heyman because Roman could be a Stone Cold type heel who would generate back into a face. That we've spoken about that before, but everybody knows that. So I feel like there's going to be some kind of swerve here involving. Think about this, okay? Who were the two guys?
riddle me this.
Who were the two guys the only two guys in wrestling history who have beaten The Undertaker at WrestleMania?
Brock and Roman.
So is this where The Undertaker gets involved somehow and Cena? They got to be going somewhere with this Cena thing.
Okay.
So I feel I was calling almost like a WrestleMania 9 kind of thing, where somewhere Roman wins the match, and then Cena comes out of nowhere and say, "This is my Mania match," and he breaks Flair's record. It's got to happen, right? No, I mean not Sunday.
It's not happening here, and it's not happening now. And I don't think the Undertaker. They're not going to do a schmaz finish.
No, it's not a schmaz. It's a clean win.
No.
Okay.
Now, could a scenario happen with Paul Heyman? Yes, I think it's highly unlikely. I think if Brock's done, I think he's done with the WWE for the time being. For the time being, doesn't mean he doesn't come back.
Right.
But
that's, to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, to me, the old school approach to what were managers used for, they were used to get people over. And Roman needs that. Roman just can't get over on his own. He can't do it.
I don't disagree. If Paul Heyman sort of does a switcheroo, it's going to give Roman heel heat, which I agree, but I just don't think they're going.
I don't
down
even think it would give him heel heat. People love Heyman.
Well, I just don't think they're.
Oh, Heyman's. I don't know if it translates to.
It would be fantastic.
I don't know if it translates across because I never watched the Raw that I went to in Miami, so I couldn't tell you how the crowd sounded on TV. But when Heyman was in that ring, my God, they love him. So I feel like whoever he touches right now can turn to gold, unless his name is Cesaro.
Yeah. Well,
he tried there and it didn't work.
It would be interesting.
Yeah.
I ultimately don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you. It's going to be Roman.
Could Heyman turn on Lesnar if he loses?
I'm not. I could see a scenario. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that these guys came in united and they're going to leave united.
If you were booking it, what would you do? What would you do with this match?
I mean, ultimately, I think Roman. I don't think. First of all, I would have booked versus Strowman, and that's.
Let's say it's the last match. Let's say it's the main event. How do you book it?
Roman goes over, and I think what I would do if I was booking is I would call my partner Andrew Guthius and we bounce some ideas. I think if Paul Heyman is committing to staying, and again the company's got to say we want our top face. And I hate using these terms because it sounds so douchey, but I think you're going to get heel heat, and I don't think they want that for Roman, even though he gets quote unquote heel heat anyway. He gets a John Cena. And John Cena,
not a John Cena.
You didn't let me finish.
Okay.
John Cena has earned a begrudging respect boo, so to speak, these days.
It's the Kurt Angle one.
Kurt Angle is a sing along. Kurt Angle doesn't get booed when he gets a sing along where you suck.
You don't see that same. You know, to me, it's very similar to.
No, John Cena still has his fair share of detractors, but he's jobbed quite a bit, and he's been around for a lot longer than Roman. So I think there's like a begrudging respect. It's like you've been around for a while. That's just my take on it. I love John Cena.
So do I. But I'll be the first one to chant John Cena sucks because it's fun to do.
Okay.
Just like I love Kurt Angle, but I'll be singing you suck because it's fun.
Okay. The one that we might both be most interested in, Miz versus Finn Balor.
So you think Reigns gets over? You think Reigns wins?
Again, like I said last year, I don't see any scenario that Brock Lesnar walks out. Simply because he's a part-time guy, and I think
and if he's leaving, he can't walk out.
I just think it's time. They've got to. And they do it.
He's been the champion for a year, right?
Yeah, they do it incrementally. Yeah. They do it incrementally. I think they've got to start at least at WrestleMania de-emphasizing some of the part-time guys. I know we talked about Triple H, and we talked about The Undertaker, and we're going to talk about Undertaker a little bit more. I think they've got to start promoting or pushing their guys as the superstars to see. I think there will always be an element in wrestling of nostalgia, and there's always those one or two guys. And again, there's rumors Bobby Lashley may be coming back. There's always rumors of guys coming and going. That's the fun part of wrestling, is the reading it online. Right. But I think ultimately, as a company, if I'm a company guy, it behooves me to push the guys that I know are coming each and every night. And I don't see any scenario. Plus, I love Brock Lesnar, but I'm not over it, but I'm kind of a little bit. We've had him since 2012. Now, we talked about great audience pops. Right there with it, I say in my lifetime, there's no greater pop on Monday Night Raw than 2012, the night after WrestleMania, I think 27, where Cena lost to The Rock, and Cena comes out and apologizes to the crowd, and Brock Lesnar comes out first time in 11 years or whatever it was. The place went bonkers. And then he F5'd, he shook Cena's hand, F5'd him, and then he promptly lost at the pay-per-view to Extreme Rules to Cena. So, but to getting back to it, he's a part-time guy. I want a full-time champ.
Agreed.
Not to necessarily even to wrestle every night, but to be on the show. I want a full-time champ. And I also think Brock, he's 40, starting to look it. He's got you read a lot of dad bod comments on. He's just. I think it's time.
How does Sable look these days?
That's a great question. I'll tell you what. After we're done here, we're going to shut the mic off. We're going to slowly, surreptitiously open up our laptops. Don't face me. This could be very, very weird. That's for podcast number 3, the homoerotic episode. Miz, Finn, Seth Rollins. Go.
Ooh. Oh my God, do I want Miz to win this, but he won't. Rollins will win it.
Okay. I'm going to go. Well, I'm going to go with what I want. And I agree with you. I see no scenario other than The Miz retaining, because I think The Miz is really good at one thing in today's wrestling. He's a great, quote-unquote, chicken shit heel champ. He's maybe a notch. To me, he's, again, a very much like a Ric Flair type. And I wasn't a big NWA guy because I lived in the Northeast, but he barely wins his matches. There's always a screwy finish, or he has some compadre on the outside that distracts, and he always walks out with the belt, and he does it so well. And he just looks good with the gold around him, and I think he has elevated. The Intercontinental Championship was fucking nothing for the longest time, and it kind of means something. I agree with you. You say Seth. Actually, from what I read, I think Finn Balor is the guy that's poised to break through. And I like Finn Balor, and you mentioned Finn. And I was not a Finn guy, but I went to Raw Live, and I liked he's got a great look. Fans, that song and his little move is intoxicating. He's got the demon thing, which is kind of cool that he can pull out every once in a while. And I don't want to really get into him too much, but I just think The Miz is a great chicken shit heel champ. He makes everyone else look great, and he walks out with the belt. He's quick on the mic. He's brilliant on the mic. He's great. He's really great in the ring too. I'd love to see him actually win strong, but they never give him really that. I'd love to see him actually beat John Cena clean, but they're never going to do that, and I don't think they're going to do that here. I don't know, but I'd like to see him win, and that's what I'm going to go with.
Actually, I'm going to change. I don't think they're going to. I think the big loser in this, I think Balor's going to win.
Go ahead.
I think Balor's going to win.
I kind of agree with you.
And because of the heel factor, Miz will come off great because he will make Balor win great and look great, and it'll be a controversial finish, and Miz will throw a tantrum or whatever. He'll be the heel, and that's what happens in these triple threats. One guy always loses some steam, and it'll be Rollins.
Yeah,
because he could. He must have done something wrong because
actually I think he's built himself up, because I went to the Raw that was that 8-man gauntlet for the God.
But why is he fighting
Seth
in the mid card now? He was a main eventer 3 years ago.
Andy, there's only so many spots.
I know, but
they stuck with Roman, and I think they made a big mistake because not because of Roman. It was Braun Strowman's year. Everything aligned. He got such great reaction. He's the look they want. The crowd is super into him. And he could have fought Brock at Mania in a big fucking violent schmaz, 15 minutes.
So why isn't it happening?
Because Roman is the guy right now. Roman's the guy.
The guy.
Interesting one. Asuka versus Charlotte Flair.
Who?
Come on.
Oscar? Is that the guy who rapped for Men on a Mission?
No, it's he's the dirty guy on The Odd Couple. That'd be a great promo.
Oscar versus
Asuka, the undefeated streak, versus.
Is she the one that's got the Marilyn Manson thing on her face? that line across the.
You are terrible. Dude, should I skip the match?
What is that thing?
It's like a little face paint kind of thing.
She does the same thing that like it's all mystique. It's just like, but again,
you're not a great guy to discuss women's wrestling. You're pretty
because I don't like it.
Okay, but
it doesn't. I didn't like it.
Right.
I didn't like it when Moolah was
Who's going to win Who's going to win the match? Let's just get to your prediction.
Asuka will win the match.
I agree with you.
Yes,
I agree.
And the only thing that I would be interested in that match is if Rick comes with Charlotte. That's really all
I don't think so. I think he's in bad shape again.
Is he really?
I think he's getting another surgery. That's what I read.
I heard he was going to be at WrestleCon.
Maybe. Then I guess I shouldn't go over Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax with you.
I don't know who
we'll skip it.
Wait, eeny, meeny, miny, Alexa Bliss is going to win.
I do think we're going to see John Cena versus The Undertaker, so I'm going to ask you your thoughts. We're going to assume the match is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the match. Who wins?
Taker wins, retires.
Okay.
Taker goes out on a win. Cena will put him over, no problem. It'll be a fun match. Cena will make Taker look great because that's what Cena does. And but where are they go? But where? I don't understand.
This match has no. It's devil foods. There's no nutritional value. It's Sunday pizza. It's pure enjoyment. There's no real impact to the current storyline. You can make a case that Cena should be the guy to win because he's still going to be somewhat a part-time active guy. What I would love to see, though, for the match, and I don't know how they would do this, but they're talking about The Undertaker coming out in his American Badass persona. Number one, you have Kid Rock. You have Kid Rock there.
Yeah.
Number two, supposedly The Undertaker retired at last year's WrestleMania.
Yeah, he put the hat and
so would you not mark out for this scenario? Undertaker comes out in his American Badass persona, and John Cena comes out at his old school Doctor of Thugonomics persona.
I love it. That's booking.
Cena playing mind games with The Undertaker.
That is a booking.
Would you not go crazy if Cena came out with the old Doc? Word life.
That would make the match not even matter.
I mean, come on, right? I thought about this. That's why I would, because Cena's great with the mind games. Undertaker somehow comes out first with the bike and the American Badass, and then Cena just does a complete and goes, you know what? I'm going to come out with my old persona, and I think the fans would go bonkers. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd love to see it.
Well, there's a way to make that happen because. The way I would, all right, let's take that scenario because I love it.
Go ahead.
That's great. The way I would book it, the main event of the show is Lesnar versus Reigns. Okay, this is really the only way to make everybody look great and everybody go over. Okay, Lesnar versus Reigns. Reigns wins. They're both in the ring. Okay, maybe they have some sign of solidarity. Wait. Before you shake your head.
I got it better.
All right. Well, you'll do your better one if I do my inferior one.
No. It's not that. I love your take. Don't worry.
No. I want something better, but this is the way I see it. Okay? In order to make what you just suggested happen. Okay? So, Reigns and Lesnar, okay, do a Goldberg and Lesnar thing like they did many years ago. They show a sign of solidarity, like salute. We've had a long run together. Lesnar's leaving. They almost shake hands or whatever.
Shake it out or something like that. Okay.
Shake it out. In comes The Undertaker as the American Badass, being the guy that they both beat, and he wants to start some shit with them. And then you bring in Cena as the Thugonomics guy.
Okay.
And then there's your match.
How about this? I just thought of this literally as you were talking.
Okay.
No connection to the Lesnar.
Now I'm psyched for Mania.
What about this? Hall of Fame introduction during WrestleMania. Out comes Kid Rock with everybody. Okay? Mm-hmm. They all walk back in. Kid Rock stays out there. the live band, I don't know where they're sequestered, but they come out and he sings a live version of the American Badass song. Mm-hmm. Undertaker comes out completely unannounced, goes to the ring. We have a referee. Cena responds, Dr. Thugonomics. No connection to, I don't want a connection to the Brock Roman. We just, it's like an Easter egg. There's no announcement. It's not even placed on the card. Kid Rock, you know, like they go to walk in, and Kid Rock does a couple of steps, turns around. There's a mic somewhere. I don't know how they do it. There's a big American band, and all of a sudden everyone's going, hey, hey, and all of a sudden Undertaker comes out, bike, just comes to the ring, and then all of a sudden the announcer's like, we're going to have a match.
Here's your WrestleMania moment. Now, I think that's more likely to happen, okay, than my scenario.
Why are we not booking? Because we would have so many.
For 2 reasons.
Go ahead.
Because the reason that'll happen is because because it's more of a moment with the Kid Rock tie-in, and because if you do it the way I said, I would rather see it the way I said. I would love to make some kind of connection, being that the 2 guys who beat Taker at Mania,
and they have referenced it.
I would like to see that. The problem with that is that if you did it my way and then your add-on match for the end of Mania becoming the quote-unquote main event would be Cena versus The Undertaker, there's no future.
Well, I also think
there's no Monday Night Raw continuation because
I just think also
that saga ends.
I think anything after it, I just think they're going to be gassed. I think if you pop somewhere in the middle and it unannounced,
you think the fans are going to be gassed?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But
I got to tell you, I think, you know, is that all the matches?
No, I have a couple of more.
Okay, so right.
I want to go, and there may even be more, but I'm going to go over 2 more.
But both scenarios I will mark out totally for. I don't think they go back to Thugonomics, but I would love.
Oh my
to
God,
see
wouldn't you? They've done it one time. He went back to Dr. Thugonomics one time.
When?
And I'm so glad I know this. And you don't. 27 versus The Rock. He came out one time on Raw with the Dr. Thugonomics, and he cut a vicious rap on The Rock, because The Rock was cutting promos from Hollywood, just ripping on Cena. You can't see me. Remember? And then he came out one time with the old backwards hat and the skull.
See that ruins it for me.
He one time. It's not like
still.
Well,
why you think? I thought it ended in like 2002.
I think he first appeared in 2003, but he did Doctor.
But either way, it works, and you get instant heat. Instant. Like it's built in. The match doesn't even have to happen.
This room is moist like a bun cake. We've been talking for probably 3 hours. I'm sweating like I just ran 6 miles. Although I'll probably be freezing tonight, and you'll be fine.
All right. So what else we got?
I'm not even asking prediction-wise. I do not like what they did with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman and a mystery partner versus Cesaro and Sheamus. I'm going to tell you why, for 2 reasons only. Well, there's maybe a lot of reasons, and I want your opinion, but I'm fired up about this, because I think they totally shitted on Strowman on this one. I don't want to, he's not a tag team wrestler. He's a solo attraction. I would have rather him not been on the card, maybe do some backstage vignettes, maybe he does something or has an interaction with a celebrity, something kind of cool. And I think it minimizes Cesaro and Sheamus. And I'm sorry, I know maybe you reference Cesaro, you're not a fan, I don't know your feelings about Cesaro and Sheamus. They're great wrestlers, they're great singles wrestlers, and I think they actually made something with this tag team. They've kind of like not undefeated, but they've held the titles for a fairly decent time in an era where titles bounce back. There's a lot of named tag teams. Maybe they're not promoted and they're not doing well in the WWE, but they have a lot of tag teams. And these guys have done well, and they're going to be served up as fucking cat food to Braun Strowman. I think it makes, I just don't know. It's like Strowman's a singles guy, and I think it makes him look like they just jammed it in somewhere.
Who's the mystery partner?
I think it's gonna. It could be
Eric Rowan, like one of those.
No, I think it's gonna be Elias. But it wouldn't shock me if they went huge. I mean, and went even like something crazy like a Batista. I'm not saying it, but it couldn't shock me if there's a big show or somebody, Okay, but I could see a scenario where
they've done whatever they can.
It's going to be it's going to be a big guy. Yeah. It's going to be either Elias or like a big Haas.
It's not going to be Hornswoggle.
No, and I just feel like I would have rather him been off the card. Don't even use him. And maybe he comes out of Raw the next night pissed off, and he's now you got a built-in feud with Roman Reigns right off the bat. You didn't use something like that. I don't know your thoughts. I don't really have much. I don't think it's going to be good. Schmazzy all the way.
It's going to depend on who the partner is. It really is. That's the way they're building it up, right?
Did you like when they did like Miz and Big Show? Like I don't know.
No, it's because you got to deliver on it. Okay, you have to deliver when you have a mystery.
And I'm a huge Strowman fan. He should be beating Brock Lesnar in the main event, and it has nothing. I like Roman Reigns. It's just not his time right now. He could have been in a strong mid card, and I don't want to get back into Roman, but it was Braun Strowman's year.
You want to get into Roman?
Well, not literally, not figuratively anyway. But I just feel this is a complete waste of a match. I don't know your thoughts.
Yes, and hopefully it will get cut because sometimes matches do get cut.
Yeah. Last one and we may missed a few anyway. It's a loaded card, but I wanted to talk to you about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Now this is your wild card match versus Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan. And I'm so glad he's back. But let me defer to you.
I don't get it.
Wow.
No. I don't get the match. You can't have them beat Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
They're not going to.
Them.
So what happens?
So what's the point? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to show that Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon are going to die for the wrestling business? Like what? Like we know Shane is like.
I feel this. I'm going to call shenanigans.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
I'm calling shenanigans on this match.
Shenanigans.
Somebody's doing something. I agree. There's no scenario. Owens and Zayn. I'd love to see the great heel victory. I'd love to see Daniel Bryan's hand raised. If the WWE is smart, they're going to push Bryan right off the bat. But they seem to not. But that's for a whole other time. But I think it's going to be shenanigans. There's some rumors and innuendo that Shane may turn on Daniel on the match.
Now you're talking. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Now
I'm calling. There's going to be.
Even though that diminishes Owens and Zayn a little bit.
I agree too.
But hey, look, you have to accept the fact that Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan are the story in this match, not Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
So speaking of shenanigans, I don't like when there's shenanigans on the big cards. I want like a clean, and I don't know why. I feel like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, I want a clean 1, 2, 3. Like Raw, turn,
for
Backlash.
The most part they do. For the most part.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just asking you.
I'm
just asking. I'm just throwing it out there. Just a thought.
Look, the definition of a clean win these days is different than it was 20 years ago. Wow. A clean win now is without weapons. But if Shane McMahon turns on Daniel Bryan and he still gets pinned 1, 2, 3, it's clean.
Well, I don't know if you heard of the last match. It's going to be in a mildly injected foam naked match. Moody versus Gruthius. That's going to be. It's going to be 2:00 in the morning when we're drunk. So, we have really talked about a lot. I guess you wanted to talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame, and then let's close it out. And and let everybody know when our next appearance will be. But I didn't really touch too much on the Hall of Fame in my notes, but go ahead. I know you want to talk about it. You lead the conversation and bounce it to me.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Go ahead. See, I'm ripping up my notes. We're going freestyle.
You just ripped up a picture of Brother Love.
That's right. Well, sorry, Bruce. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Well, you know.
We should invite him to do our show.
Oh, we should.
We should, shouldn't we? We should. Go ahead.
I would like to know what you think about Goldberg going into the Hall of Fame this year.
We touched upon it a little bit earlier. I think he is deserving because there's no real metric to. And I hate to say it, but it's almost a moot point to ask the question because there's no real metric. And I go, you know what I've always said? It's the Coco Beware theory. Coco Beware was a nice guy. He was essentially enhancement talent, and he got in. So for me, I remember when I saw his name, and I was like, this is a bunch of bullcrap. So I don't really get caught up too much. Now, I could debate with you about where I see him in the pantheon of wrestling.
Okay, forget
that. But do I feel like he's deserving? Sure.
All right.
And do I feel he's deserving last? Absolutely, because I believe he was like, I'm trying to give a sports analogy, but he was a bright star. It was just for a very short amount of time. He might have wrestled for 15 years, but his moment of brilliance was quite brilliant. And there was a brief 2-year where him and Stone Cold were neck and neck, and that's pretty much what we all talked about. And it was Stone Cold versus Goldberg. So yes, for a brief moment, he was considered Michael Jordan-esque, and that's why he belongs.
All right, let's say that there did not need to be a quote-unquote headliner.
Go ahead.
Okay? Because that's basically what he is. He's the big face of this year's Hall of Fame.
Go ahead.
Because there's something that's not.
Go ahead.
There's something that's not sitting right with me.
Oh my God! Can you please enunciate?
There's something that's not sitting right with me about it because.
Why, he's Jewish?
No, that should be why I want him in.
Go ahead.
Is he the first Jewish member of the Hall of Fame?
Maybe, unless
Is he
Barry.
the Sandy Koufax
yes.
of WWE?
Wait a second. It's Saturday night. It's the Sabbath. He can't do it.
It's Friday night. You're right.
Friday night.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Go ahead. Let me hear your point. Let me hear your point.
I'm going to say something that you are going to get very angry with me.
Go ahead.
All right.
Is this a legit point or you goofing on me?
Yes, it's a legit point.
Go ahead.
There's one guy who's getting into the Hall of Fame this year who I believe is way more legit than Goldberg going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Who do you think it is?
You can't say Hillbilly Jim.
I'm saying Hillbilly Jim.
Oh
I knew you were going to get upset. But think about it, okay? Hillbilly Jim has been there since the very beginning, okay? He has been with them the whole way. He is part of the team now. He's to the wrestling business, okay? Just there's all the career spans. It's not just wrestling. It's the behind-the-scenes stuff. It's everything. Same with Jeff Jarrett, okay? But their headliner, their big gun this year is Bill Goldberg, who hates the wrestling business.
He doesn't hate the wrestling business.
All right, but most of his time he did. Like, it's just like, I still can't get that. But we know there's a lot of politics involved. We know basically if they wanted to put The Rock in the Hall of Fame, they'd have to pay him. I mean, that's the way this whole thing works.
I think The Rock it's just...
The Rock deserves.
It's the year that he's available, and it's this host city, there's a lot of factors.
Okay,
but let me answer your question.
Okay.
Answer your point.
Okay.
I disagree with you vehemently.
Okay.
Hillbilly Jim was a side character, and let me finish. He wasn't even in there very long, as I remember as a kid. I don't think he was maybe in the core
He had 2 songs.
He was
on
maybe
each album.
He was maybe in the core WWF maybe 4 or 5 years. So I'll go to Jeff Jarrett because Jeff Jarrett has a much more extensive history in the wrestling business as far as I know. Now I know Hillbilly Jim maybe still works behind the scenes and did Legends House. But but it's still the WWE Hall of Fame. And even though Goldberg's a WCW born guy, they own WCW.
Oh yeah, it's not a WWE
And
Hall of Fame,
he had all right, but he had 2 WWE runs.
right,
And
one which was very lackluster.
but he's a name.
I agree.
I don't.
I know why he's going.
I don't. Now, if anything, I'll make a case that the Dudley Boys are the most prestigious group.
There you go.
Going in. They've held every major tag team title, not including the WWE. I mean, every organization they've wrestled for, and they've had a pretty wild career, and was part of something that is seen as pretty innovative in ECW. Though I've a little bit not soured, but I've mellowed out on ECW as I've gotten older. Don't think it was quite the deal that maybe that they've portrayed. So if anything, I would make a case to you that the Dudley Boys are the statistically would be the greatest one. But I think Goldberg, I do believe he's deserving of the final one. He's the biggest name. He was the biggest draw, and maybe he doesn't have quite the extensive history. But
he also wasn't good to the roster. He wasn't a company like. It's just here's
okay, but let me give you like a point to that, so to speak. Would be they've brought back guys who have certainly lost their way. Jake the Snake, Scott Hall, now Bill Goldberg hasn't, as far as we know. But he came back. He did a year feel-good run, and I'm not going to get into reclaim his legacy we talked about earlier, but it was a feel-good moment. He main evented WrestleMania. We were there, sold out the building. He was part of that. I do believe he deserves the final. Now, statistically, if there is such a thing, you can make a case for no. But do I think he should be the final guy? Yeah, I don't see that as a problem.
I wish that they would.
Remember, it's not the Hall of Ice; it's the Hall of Fame. So if he was a jerk behind the scenes,
right,
in a sense, you could say it doesn't really matter. He put asses in the seat.
Yeah,
he main evented a ton of big time pay-per-views.
True.
A lot of them not for WWE.
True.
Sure.
I wish that that they would have some kind of thing like baseball does. You have to be physically retired from the ring a certain amount of time before eligibility.
So when you look at this year's class, at least the guys, and even
who's this year's cripple? I mean the Warrior Award.
I don't know the kid, but that's not very nice. But if you look at the class, actually, maybe Hillbilly Jim, maybe not. The Dudley Boys, Bill Goldberg, Mark Henry.
I don't get that.
Mark Henry. Your racism is clearly shown.
It's not racism.
Jeff Jarrett.
Von Dudley should be in there.
Jeff Jarrett.
100%.
Ivory. And remember, Mark Henry was an ECW and a WWE World Champ. So
he wasn't. He never held the WWE.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
When?
Not the SmackDown title. I don't know whatever that was called. The World title. He was a World title champion. Look it up online.
The real World Champion.
I would say that, and this is very flimsy, but in my mind, you could say for even if it was a short moment, that those guys were considered at the top of their game at some moment, at some time during their career, including Mark Henry.
His best thing was with China, and you know that.
He had feuds with Batista.
His best thing was with China, and you know that. You said it yourself. I remember when you ran into the living room.
It was comical.
He was reciting poetry from the ring to China, and she looks angry, and then all of a sudden she's smiling, that sexy smile, and you run and you say, "Best angle ever! Best angle of all time!"
I think I remember really laughing with D'Lo with the limousine cap, the limousine driver cap.
You know what? I'm going to go back on that. Henry deserves to be in.
Well,
if the Godfather's in, Henry gets in too.
I think, even Ivory.
Because this is not a Coco Beware handout.
I think everybody in there, you could just say, even if it was a slight moment, there was a moment where you could say, you could make a case, even Jeff Jarrett, even in the WWE, was in the upper echelon. He was Intercontinental Champ, and his work, he had some great matches, including with Shawn Michaels. But it's a hard thing to debate because it's like we said, it's one guy picking at one time, and there could be a lot of factors. Host city, maybe it's somebody's hometown, maybe he's going to retire, the cards are right, and so, and I don't think I agree with you. There would be great to have criteria. Mm-hmm. I would be great to maybe even have a physical location for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. They've been talking about that.
Which I think you might see, but I don't think they're ever going to put criteria in there because they would have to be held to it, and I don't think they want to be held to it.
Hogan's Beach Shop is a Hall of Fame of Hogan, if you look at that place.
Yeah, but he's in the Hall of Fame.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, there's so much in that place that's like memorabilia.
So, and I wrote this on my notes, so is there, to wrap it up on my end, is there one thing you want to see Sunday at WrestleMania?
Wait, before we get to that, I want to ask you one question.
Go ahead.
I'll give you mine after you give me yours. Okay? Take all of the criteria that WWE uses.
I'm listening to you.
As far as politics and handouts out of it. And besides the obvious, like who belong, like The Rock and everything, give me a sleeper Hall of Fame pick of yours. I have mine. Give me a sleeper Hall of Fame pick of yours.
That's not in?
That's not in. Mine, I don't believe is in. I can't confirm that. I'd have to look at a list, but I don't think he's in.
A name pops into my head. You might not like it. I'm not even sure I like it, but you're asking me off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And this is going to be, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the name that popped into my head was Vader.
I like that pick. And I think you'll see it sooner rather than later because I heard he's not doing so well. And I don't think they want to do it possibly.
I was trying to, when you asked me that, I was thinking of, my mind went instantly to early 90s. That was kind of a down period. I wasn't even much of a fan. Right. See, I've never said this to you, but historically, we went together to WrestleMania 10. Mm-hmm. I was not a fan. I was in my master's degree in college.
Yeah, I had to drag you to that kick and scream.
In college.
We were almost late, too.
In college, nobody watched it, and I just fell out of it. And that was part of my renaissance. But I'm fascinated with that pre-Attitude Era time. And I think, when you asked me that, Vader was a guy who was WCW or NWA champ, had a couple of, I guess in the NWA annals, had some great feuds with Flair, and then when Hogan went to Hogan, and then he had an underwhelming WWE run, but I mean, if
he was still, he had, I think the thing in, where I forgot what country it was in.
The Kuwait?
Yeah, that derailed him.
Yeah. So, who was your guy?
Mike Rotunda, IRS.
I see it, but I'm a little disappointed. I thought you would have went bigger. I don't know why.
Well,
not physically.
I go back to Rotunda and Wyndham, and IRS was a gimmick that should never have worked, but did. He never wavered from it. He sold the shit out of it.
Yes, he did.
And he just never backed off of it. And he was an ultimate heel. He always got heat. His sons are all in the WWE now. With Money Inc., with the legacy. I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot there to Mike Rotunda. I'm not talking IRS now. I'm talking Mike Rotunda.
Understood.
That's my sleeper pick. Now that's putting aside Owen Hart, The Rock, and those obvious ones who are not in for reasons because they're not available or there's lawsuits or that stuff. I'm talking about the Jeff Jarrett's, the Billy Jims, those guys.
I think you'll see. You'll see Owen in at some point posthumously.
I think so, but Rotunda is the one that.
Here's my one question. Here's the one name that popped up afterwards when you were talking. Is Rick Martel in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think so. I'd have to check that.
AWA champ, strong mid card guy in WCW and WWE.
It's certainly time for him.
Tag teams.
Certainly time for him.
All right.
Okay.
We've been talking a long time. Let's. I'm hungry. We're going to grab some dinner soon. But final thoughts. Anything you want to see? Final thoughts on Mania.
You're not going to like it.
Please don't tell me Hulk Hogan shows up.
That's
oh my God! What is wrong with you?
Hey, did you see that tweet?
Did you see the documentary about him about a Gawker on Netflix?
No.
Yeah, interesting. I did see your tweet. We talked about Hulk Hogan. We talked about him in the car. We weren't really going to talk about him too much, but
there's nothing to talk about. That's my answer. That's just.
He's coming back.
I'm tired of not seeing the Hulkster. I just, he's still, because look, these guys aren't getting any younger, and think about all this wasted time. Like, Hogan's in his late 60s or mid 60s. All the damage he probably did to his body over the years, this catches up with these guys. How many of these guys live to their 80s? So like, you got to look at it that way. And if Ric Flair is in the shape he's in, that you say he's in, I mean, we want to see these guys while they still can be somewhat like their former selves as far as personality goes. And, while Hulk looks to be in great shape and still like that, I just, I miss him in the middle of that ring surrounded by the fans screaming and yelling, and once that fades, let it fade, but not because of this shit.
It's going to happen, and you'll see. It's going to be on Raw. He's going to get a 20-minute standing O, and he's going to cry, and he's going to do all the mea culpas.
I hope so.
I just feel it's going to be an ambassador. It's a once in a blue moon appearance. I think it'll happen, but I just don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. But you asked the one thing I'd like to see. But if you're talking about of what we know. Did you mean within the scope of the show as it's laid out?
Yeah, I think I had a thought, and I said, "What is one thing you're looking forward to the most on Sunday?"
Well, I'm gonna say the one thing I'm looking forward to the most is what eventually happens with The Undertaker and Cena. I'm the most curious about that. Any unanswered questions, I'm always interested in. Usually, I'm let down by the answer, but. Mystery partner, I'm certainly interested in. It could be the Honky Tonk Man. I would love that. He should be in the Hall of Fame. But he'll never get in there because he's been so...
Agreed. I agree with you.
But that's for another show. Because I think when we do our post-Mania podcast, we can also talk about what happens on the Hall of Fame.
And I think that, for me too, I'm curious... about Cena, Undertaker. I think it's
anything that piques my curiosity.
I think they're going to have a great match. I don't care if he's 53. I don't care if Cena's.
I don't care
in his
about
40s.
the match. I want to see how they do it. I'll be disappointed if they don't do something special. I don't want to honestly, at this point, I don't want to just hear boing. I don't want to hear that. Okay. I want the American Badass, or I want, Mean Mark Calloway. That would be. Yeah. That'll never happen.
I don't want Mean Mark Calloway.
Not enough people know about it, but something other than the normal. Does Kane have a role this year?
He's going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
God. Is that just because he's part-time because he's running for mayor or something?
Yeah, he's 51 years old now. So, I mean, you're right. These guys are...
Now, the Battle Royals are both...
You know what the scary part? Right? The scary part is the guys in our generation are starting to top out now. Guys that we grew up with or in our prime viewership years, like Kane, they're in their 50s. Their time is running out too.
Now, I do know there are a lot of people in town that were not in town last year. Okay, Michaels is here.
Okay, what does that mean, though?
I don't know.
Your sources?
I know because I know he's going to be at WrestleCon. Okay, so they're coming to New Orleans. So
right, but
that doesn't mean they're going to be a part of the thing.
No, but they might make an appearance. But no, I don't. Shawn Michaels is not getting back in the ring.
No, never. I'm just saying that, there could be, there's a lot of resources that they have to.
His moment could have been, it was a year ago where they were rumored, it was in Texas, SummerSlam at the Alamo Dome. They did a big stadium for SummerSlam. And there was talk of AJ versus Sean, but he says, and he's held to it, I'm not going back in the ring. And he's a guy that, he
doesn't need to.
He retired at 44, and he's still on top of his game, and,
Doesn't need to. Did
that's
everything
it.
there is to do. He's on the Mount Rushmore. He's the greatest of all time.
I agree. Did you enjoy this?
I love it. And
Yeah, this one
I could go on longer.
We went hardcore.
Yeah.
We went hardcore.
And I think we might even do another one tomorrow, considering the things we're doing tomorrow. There might be plenty to talk about it by the end of the day.
That certainly
know.
is.
But we do know that we are coming back.
All right, we're definitely going to do a post-Mania.
Yeah, we are going to do, it might be a short one because we'll probably get back from Mania at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we are going to do a post-Mania podcast on Sunday night.
And then I hope maybe August, September, I can hit up Florida and maybe we could pick this up again. Did you have a good time?
Loved it, always.
I will see you for
Always a blast.
Nothing Worthwhile post-Mania edition.
And I'll see you in 30 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you to all 70 listeners for the first one. We really appreciate it. I think my mom did 6 of them, but
Yeah.
All right, take care, everybody.
My mom will not be told about this because of the controversial statements that I made, but that's what makes this so special.
Well, check us out on YouTube. I hope you enjoy the podcast. We'll speak to you soon.
If you're watching this, I'm probably already checking it out.
Well, I hope so. We'll speak to you soon.
Yazoo.
Peace.
Whack, whack.